Chapter 603. These people didn't know what Chen Guang couldn't do well. But everyone knew that if there wasn't an irresistible force, no one in the world would be able to stop Chen Guang from being crowned as king tomorrow. Some things were just so strange. Even if they knew the result from the start, these people still felt their blood boil when they thought of that scene. The global Dota Solo Throne Challenge grew from nothing, and the attention grew from low to high. From an unbridled young man who seemed to be clamoring in a dream, to a hero who trained hard and finally became a great person, to be crowned on the stage. More and more people paid attention to this competition. At the start, the number of people who signed up for the competition was in the millions, but by the opening match, the audience had already reached the tens of millions. But unknowingly, when Chen Guang really won 140 matches in a row, the attention of the last day of the Throne Challenge had already exceeded 100 million to a certain extent. More and more people started to remember. They might have found out about this from different channels. At the start, this was treated as a joke, but now this joke was about to become real. A competition without suspense shouldn't be attractive. But if everyone knew that he could really win, and that he was really going to step on the heads of all the players to be crowned as king, everyone would want to personally see him take that last step. Those who liked and were passionate about esports were mostly young and energetic people. Even many people born in the 80s, who were once youths, had already gone on to various jobs as they graduated, becoming the mainstay of the country and society. But no matter whether they became so-called managers, so-called middle management, or section chiefs, no matter whether they were high-spirited or solemn, no one could deny that they were once young. Employees who had just started working would think that these people born in the 80s were cold-faced leaders, that they were unreasonable, and that they were inflexible. But no matter if they were born in the 90s or in the 80s, who hadn't been youthful, who hadn't been hot-blooded. Time flew, and no one could find back what was lost. It was only hidden in the corner of their memories, occasionally surging up in their minds in the middle of the night. They were either hugging their wives and children, or sitting by the window and looking at the dark sky outside. But their minds were gradually recalling the sounds and scenes of the past. We recalled the past, and it was as if we had returned to the time when a large group of people crowded in a university dorm room, shouting in groups of 5 to 6. We endured the heat of the scorching summer night, as we roared with sweat dripping down our foreheads. When you are killed under the tower, for TP cards will light up at the same time. When you are being chased by 5 people, and are about to fall to the ground in the next second, your roommate will descend from the sky with his centaur mammoth, reversing the yin and yang, cutting off the path of all the enemies. Just as your fire lady was on the verge of death, your teammate, the soul guard, sounded the war drum, and rushed over from behind like a god descending to the mortal world. He ignited his Black Emperor scepter, and held your hand tightly, using the soul barrier to transfer his life to you. When all your outer towers and barracks fell under the enemy's overwhelming attack, you controlled Medusa, and held the holy sword that your teammates had bought with their lives to forge for you, defending the world tree with your own strength. When you and your teammates withstood the pressure of guarding Athena and shouted, "As long as the tower doesn't fall, we won't retreat." When you, who were in charge of the support, were defeated time and time again, and even lost the courage to step out of the spring, your teammate Will-O-Wisp finally came out of the radiance. He told you, "Brother, thank you. Leave the rest to me." When the team battle erupted, your teammates were defeated by the enemy. Your wandering swordsman finally found an opportunity. He roared and roared. Golden light flashed as he summoned the power of God, and jumped into the crowd. He stunned all the enemies with the storm hammer, and waved Daedalus' mortis fiercely, using the enemy's dark red blood to sacrifice the lives of his teammates. When everyone thought that they had failed, and that the 5 enemies were about to destroy all your barracks, you and your teammates sold their equipment at the same time, took out flying shoes, and landed in front of the enemy's world tree to turn the situation around. All these memories gradually faded with the erosion of time, but they were always like assassins hiding in the dark, suddenly jumping out when you were not paying attention, ruthlessly stabbing the softest part of your ribs, causing you to unknowingly feel heartache and hot tears welling up in your eyes. In fact, What people cared about the most wasn't the game itself, but the youth and memories that had been taken over by the game. Our computers had changed from Pentium to Core, our mice had changed from Dual Swallow to Thundersnake, and our keyboards had changed from 30 yuan street goods to green red black tees dazzling backlit mechanical keyboards. The environment in which we played games had also changed from crowded dorms that were as hot as steamers to high-end internet cafes, or our own study rooms. Our game screens had also changed from the crude War 3 to the Origin 2 engine's Dota 2. Everything was getting better and better, but the lost youth and memories could never be found again. No matter how good the internet cafes and study rooms were, they couldn't compare to the once steamer-like dorms because things remained the same, but people had changed. However, no matter how good one's youth was, one would eventually grow old. Time was like gold, and it would always be blown away by the wind and rain. Perhaps we would take a break from our busy work to watch the competition, to see the players that we used to admire, and to see that they were now as old as we were. We would also be secretly sad about the desolation of Shan Dota, and we would also fight with the League of Legends players until our faces were red with anger, even if it was meaningless. No one could deny that the game was ultimately just a passerby. What would never change in life was responsibility, be it family life or work. These people from the 80s and 90s had their own duties and responsibilities, pulling themselves away from the sharp edges of their youth and turning them into smooth gears, quietly staying in the corners of this world where they needed to stay, earning a little bit of the salary that they deserved, and using this salary to continue living, waiting to grow old, waiting to be forgotten by this era. However, what Chen Guang had done these days had pulled back those former players, current office workers, and the old men that had a generation gap in the words of the young people. They also wanted to see what kind of person could actually be crowned as the king of the game that they had once been crazy and infatuated with. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the competition hadn't started yet, but the viewership ratings of Dechuan Province satellite TV had already stabilized at more than 1.5%. This was almost the highest viewership ratings of Dechuan satellite TV in the past few years. At this time, the television was still playing the Dechuan Morning Comprehensive News program. Everyone knew that these people were all here for the King's Challenge on the last day. In bamboo culture, Chen Guang's personal live broadcast room was currently playing the highlights of yesterday and the day before. But the number of viewers had risen steadily, quickly breaking through the tens of millions, and it continued to rise. The server resources that Xiao Tsong had deliberately allocated specifically for this competition were almost unable to hold on. He made a prompt decision and decided to open a second and third channel in Chen Guang's name, mobilizing all the streaming resources that the entire bamboo culture could mobilize. At least more than 90% of the entire platform's bandwidth was placed on Chen Guang's competition. The foreign live broadcast platform simply applied for a second authorization from Xiao Tsong, distributing the live broadcast signal to 3 different companies in Europe, America, and Asia for distribution. ESPN Sports Channel signed an agreement with Xiao Tsong last night, putting the entire day's overseas cable TV resources on this competition. The provincial stadium was already full, and there were no empty seats. No one would have thought that an esports competition that was hastily prepared would actually grow from nothing to being famous all over the world in 7 days. Such a concept was almost equivalent to building a city of Rome in 7 days. If others wanted to organize a competition, they would start to publicize it a month or 2 in advance, then gather all the best players together, and finally get tens of millions of global attention. Even the annual TI International Invitational Tournament, which was held at the very top, had at most 30 to 40 million viewers. But for Chen Guang's competition, from 1 million to 20 million, that was, from the official start of registration to the opening ceremony, it only took 4 days. From 20 million at the opening ceremony to today's accumulation, it directly broke through 100 million, all in just 2 days. What was the concept of a competition that broke through 100 million attention? 1/30th of the Olympic Games, 1/20th of the World Cup, 7/8 of the European Championship, 3/4 of the Champions League. This description might be more convenient to quantify. There were many reasons for this, but in the final analysis, it could not be separated from the most important point, and that was that he really kept winning. He was turning what the world thought was completely impossible into a reality. This went beyond the scope of esports and became a human challenge to their own limits. He expanded the spontaneity of a news to the extreme, and the effect was more immediate than the greatest publicity and marketing. Others spent money to buy headlines, but he was the headline, spending money to buy his news. This was the difference. His only regret was that he didn't realize the economic value of the competition in the beginning. Of course, not many people would believe him if he told them at that time. No one was willing to pay a high price for a competition that he came up with on a whim. For example, the Olympic transportation fee and the broadcasting license fee of the World Cup were in the billions of US dollars. But it was obviously impossible for satellite TV stations or ESPN to spend tens of millions of US dollars to buy his live broadcast of the competition, even if it was only a few tenths of the Olympic broadcasting license fee. People would think he was crazy. He had helped Little Tsong and the platform company that was the first to buy the rights to broadcast overseas live streaming online. He had also helped Dachuan Satellite TV earn a great deal for free. Even the advertising sponsors were just a few small brands. Now the people in charge of these small brands were overjoyed. But this did not matter, and he could not blame anyone. If he did not decide to give Xiao Tsong and the foreign platform such good treatment from the beginning, the other party would not have put so much effort into supporting the publicity resources. As long as one was not an idiot, they would be able to imagine that Chen Guang could create a sword tower throne challenge. Maybe next time, he could also create a global race of the top racers. So far, he had shown a lot of tricks, and it was not difficult to recreate a miracle. Chen Guang didn't know how to do business, nor did he pay much attention to it. However, others knew it in their hearts. Only when everyone cooperated happily could it be a long-term sustainable cooperation. I took advantage of me today, and did not give me any benefits in return. So next time, I can look for B, or I can look for C. In a sense, Chen Guang used such a top-level solo throne challenge to tell everyone that he had changed from an ordinary internet celebrity in the traditional sense to a global phenomenal content provider. The content he could provide was very simple and crude. It was his own personal skill show, but it was exceptionally effective. In the afternoon, when the sun was setting, looking at the other party's GG on the screen, Chen Guang let out a long sigh of relief. He picked up the cup and drank the water casually, feeling the incoming faith value, and stuffed it into the world in the cup. The Sword Tower Cup World's faith value was full, and the daily production was 44455. These days, the Dear Cry flower seemed to be developing quite well. His Weibo fans had reached 15 million, and the number of viewers in the live broadcast room had reached 4.8 million. In the past 3 days of live broadcast, the total gifts received were close to 4 million in cash, and it was still growing. Dachuan Satellite TV, under the pressure of the policy of only smashing the chrysanthemum, forced the live broadcast for a whole day, and the average rating was 2%, setting a new record for the entire television station. After considering the impact on the income of the TV station, Dachuan Satellite TV finally decided to pay 7.86 million yuan in cash for the sponsorship fees from the advertising sponsors that had been forcefully stuffed into the TV station in the past 2 days. In addition to the 1.5 million yuan from the licensing fees for the live broadcast, the total was 9.36 million yuan, all of which was paid to Bamboo Culture. The overseas live broadcast platform, on the other hand, paid a total of 4 million renminbi for the license fees, 6 million for the post-production distribution license fees, and 7.38 million for the live broadcast room gifts. After deducting 15% of the expenses and processing fees, a total of 14.77 million renminbi was paid to Bamboo Culture. ESPN bought the last day's live broadcast license and paid $2 million US. After deducting other expenses, Bamboo Culture received another 10 million renminbi. The other domestic sponsors' fees added up to a total of 600,000 renminbi. Okay, this was indeed quite shameful. In addition, the live ticket revenue was 1.5 million renminbi. Okay, this unlucky person's ticket revenue was not even enough to pay for the construction of the stage. However, Little Tsong decided not to take any of the money mentioned above. He did not want any dividends at all. He even added another 20 million to Chen Guang, when he had already invested 10 million in the competition itself. There was no other way. The publicity effect he had enjoyed during this time was really too good, and it made him feel so good that he could fly. He found that he had been deeply infatuated with the pleasure of hitching a ride, and he was completely unable to extricate himself. A total of 7 or 8 days of competition made his Bamboo Live broadcast, which was originally ranked third in the country, rush to the first place. Whether it was the number of active users or the traffic, it was double first. He was not stupid. As long as he followed Chen Guang to run this platform well, he would have more money slowly. However, if he made Chen Guang uncomfortable, not to mention offending the second and third generations in Beijing, Chen Guang would be unhappy and switch to other platforms, and he would have no place to cry. Therefore, this meant that Chen Guang himself spent $2 million to make this global feast. And in the end, not only did he not lose, but he also made a net profit of about 48 million renminbi. This was an exaggeration, but if you really consider that the actual impact of this competition was 1/20th of the World Cup, it was really not surprising. This was also the first time he had done this kind of thing. He had no experience, and others also did not have confidence in him. If he really wanted to operate strictly according to the business model of promotion, for a competition of this scale, as the organizer and the most important content provider, it was reasonable to earn hundreds of millions. Of course, at this time, he was still completely unaware of this. He was sitting on the esports chair, enjoying the final glory and temporary satisfaction of this stage, satisfied with the production of faith value in the cup to the top. He slowly got up and opened his arms. The afterglow of the sunset shone on him, through the reflection of the glass, on all sides of the provincial stadium. More than 70 spotlights shone on him at the same time, making him, who had just been crowned through the King's Challenge, look exceptionally tall. Everyone, thank you for your support, Chen Guang said. All-powerful Chen Guang, the strongest on earth. No one knew who first thought of this slogan, but it quickly resonated with countless people in the stadium. It first sounded from the corner, and then quickly spread throughout the whole stadium. Chen Guang smiled. Looking around, the whole stadium was filled with white faith value threads. That was how it should have been. He had used the loudest voice in history to tell everyone that they could boast about him as much as they wanted, because his Dota was the strongest. Chapter 604. Suppressing the smugness in his heart, and replacing it with Leon's coldness. Chen Guang maintained the coldness and dominance of an assassin on the stage until the last second. Only when he slowly descended from the lift to the ground did he excitedly clench his fist. Success. Previously, he was worried whether it was feasible for him to use such a deliberate method to manipulate his faith. After all, his purpose was too strong, and others might not accept it. Now that his faith value had been filled to the brim, it finally gave him a reassurance. The process wasn't important, the method wasn't important, and it didn't matter if it was intentional or not. What was important was whether he could use the right method to bring out his strength in a certain field and gain everyone's recognition. When he boasted himself to the throne, he had indeed been questioned and ridiculed by many. But when he really sat firmly on the throne with 200 undisputed victories, it was just as he had expected. He had struck it rich. The amount of slander he could withstand was the amount of praise he could withstand. The crown was never bestowed by others, but fought for bit by bit with his own hands. As long as he won irrefutably, he naturally wasn't afraid of any doubts. The more vehemently those who doubted him, the stronger the faith they sent to Chen Guang when he was crowned. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, who would have thought that the game could be played like this? In the foreseeable future, the entire game will probably undergo earth-shaking changes, because of his solo competition this time. I've been reviewing his matches these past 2 nights. The more I watch, the more details there are. It's really frightening. This was the evaluation of a professional Dota player. I really didn't like this person in the past. I always felt that he was too arrogant and didn't seem like a Chinese. I also felt that his previous score of 10 million in 4 servers was fake. Only God knows if he found a lot of actors. But this time I'm convinced. I'm completely convinced. This was a Dota player who used to hate Chen Guang, but now worshipped Chen Guang. Brother Almighty is invincible without explanation. Alright, this was a brainless fan. I'm what? This was a female version of the brainless fan. I'm hard. This was a gay brainless fan. That's why I always say that Dota doesn't make it balanced. We don't do this in LOL. No matter which player, no matter how strong they are, they still have to lose. Who can win 200 consecutive matches? It's simply unscientific. He was one of the League of Legends players next door. Don't be a King fan. You're trying to set the pace again. I've been using a knife for 5 years and masturbating for 3 years. I'm a master of KO. Brother Allrounder is really good. No matter what game you're in, you'll always be good when you're good. I really want to see him play League of Legends too. If that's the case, I'll be his biggest fan. Which Daojuan above me is also a rhythm dog. Scram. You guys continue arguing. I'm going to play ranked. Anyway, I'm convinced. I hate everyone who plays Dota, except for Brother Almighty. It wasn't just the League of Legends players, the entire esports circle, and even the audience that knew about today's event, had the same thought. No one would have thought that in a very secret and secure basement in Beijing, a group of old men, who would never watch an esports competition would actually be discussing in front of the TV. I really don't know what young people are thinking these days. What's the point of these colorful little people throwing yellow and green lumps at each other on the computer? I really don't understand why young people nowadays like this. Isn't it better to go out for a run and exercise when they have time? That's why it's called the generation gap. You don't understand young people's thoughts. What do they call this? Right, it's called esports. Some time ago, the Sports Bureau sent a report to my desk, saying that they want to make esports an official sport. I didn't approve it before, but I really have to think about it later. An old man in charge of the Sports Bureau said so. Why don't we add esports to the national games? Forget it, there's a wide variety of these things, and these are young people's fashion stuff. If we let those good-for-nothings do it, they might not be good enough. Market-oriented management might be better than the old 3 methods. We just need to give appropriate encouragement from the policy. That's right. This time the competition organized by Old Jin's grandson-in-law is quite popular. And the effect is very good. People all over the country like to watch it, including foreigners. Old Jin's grandson-in-law is smart. He's really a young hero. Stop praising him. If you keep praising him, Old Jin's mouth will crack. Look at his poor and cocky face. I'm really anxious. Haha, Old Jiang, why are you so anxious? Who told you to always control your granddaughter? You two saved her together. Why is he with Old Jin's granddaughter? Isn't it because you, Old Jiang, are controlling your granddaughter too tightly? You shut up. If you keep talking, I'll get angry with you. Ha ha ha, look at Old Jiang, he's really anxious. Old Jiang sighed. Sometimes I also wonder if I'm really controlling too much. I have to say, some of my Yage's characters are really like mine. The more I control her, the more stubborn she becomes, making her as difficult as a wild child. In the end, Old Jin's Shuriwa is a well-educated and reasonable lady. Old Jin proudly pinched his chin. Come on, the children and grandchildren have their own blessings. What era are we living in? How can we old men manage everything? Young people should be free to do whatever they want. The old man in the middle raised his hand and motioned for everyone to be quiet. Thanks to Chen Guang's activity during this time, we basically didn't make any mistakes before. How's the individual military exercise going, Old Jiang? Jiang Yage's grandfather coughed twice. Everything is going well. It can be held on time in 8 days. Very good. Old Lu, how's the meeting with the reliable personnel of the Special Case Bureau? We've probed almost all of them. About 1/3 of them can talk openly. So far, there have been no problems. Only the person in charge of the Liao and branch is a little bit out of place and has been secretly controlled. Ask our people to probe more clearly before the next meeting. Even if there is the slightest sign, we must not reveal anything. Before the exercise officially starts, we must prevent the news from leaking. Okay. How's the communication with the 3 aristocratic families? The Wen family is currently busy fighting with the Poison Sect and the Dark Sect, but the leader of the Wen family, Wen, has expressed her goodwill to us. However, the other 2 families haven't made a clear statement yet. It seems that they are also waiting to see what the Wen family will do. Very good. Keep communicating. If the Wen family needs it, we can try our best to provide information support. It's not only to test the progress of our technology over the years, but also to let the inner force martial artists understand that the times are different. If we really want to go all out to find some clues, it won't be as difficult as we think. Remember, the information we provide must be reliable and accurate. Don't mention anything you don't know. Once you mention it, it must be useful. Okay. The old man in the middle closed his eyes and pondered for a long time, sketching a complete outline of all the information and the current situation in his mind. He was very satisfied with the current progress. Finally, he gently knocked on the table. How's the progress of the Guangding Bureau? Has the list of the first batch of staff been confirmed? How are we going to contact Chen Guang? The list has been confirmed. It's part of the special trainees that Chen Guang specially trained in the Shun Special Training Camp. They are reliable, loyal, and at the same time, they have a lot of respect for Chen Guang. As for the specific operation method, it's tentatively decided that the International Financial Group will take the lead. Using Chen Guang's current identity as an artist as an entry point, they will adopt the model of investing in his online celebrity identity. They will form a management company around Chen Guang, and then gradually install this batch of special trainees into the company. Very good, but we must make sure that every one of them is absolutely reliable. At the same time, we must completely clean up their establishment files and eliminate anyone who has dealings with inner force martial artists to prevent the news from leaking. Meeting dismissed. When most of the people had left, the old man in charge of the literary department purposely lagged behind and said with some embarrassment, "I say, boss, I have an idea. Isn't the name of Chen Guang's new department a little too childish? On the internet, this is a crooked name that people use to scold the headquarters that I am in charge of. It's a little embarrassing for me to keep calling it that. Anyway, it's just a temporary name. I think it's pretty good. If the news gets leaked, it won't be too fatal, and we can still deceive them. Don't be embarrassed. You can't manage things yourself. What's wrong with being scolded by others?" The old man in the middle didn't listen at all and got up to leave. The poor old man rubbed his nose and felt a little wronged in his heart. It was quite depressing to be scolded by others all day long. Furthermore, this matter wasn't easy to manage. "What? You said there's a total of 60 million yuan?" Chen Guang stared at little Tsong with wide eyes, and his heart was blooming with joy. Previously he was still worried. Although the effect of organizing the Dota competition was good, it was too expensive. He had wasted more than 10 million yuan in one go. He was calculating the 40 million yuan that Long Dingtian had compensated, 5 million yuan that he had extorted from Xianqin, and he had spent another 13 million yuan. Very quickly, he was only left with a little more than 20 million yuan. Next time, if he wanted to do something, he would probably have to tighten his belt. In the end, Brother Little Tsong actually said that he could earn 60 million yuan this time. After deducting the expenses, it meant that other than gaining faith and reputation, he had actually earned 48 million yuan. How could he not be happy? It was to the extent that he couldn't control his emotions during the celebration banquet, and exclaimed softly. Looking at Chen Guang's shocked expression, Little Tsong knew that he had successfully coaxed this old man again. Little Tsong laughed and said, "Of course, I wouldn't dare to joke around with you. Until now, the money is still coming in. Latest by tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, I will transfer it to your UBS account. If there's a penny less, you can come back and hang me on a tree." Chen Guang pinched his fingers and calculated. Although he wasn't particularly concerned about these things, he had a rough idea of the previous contracts. That's not right. There's still a gap of 20 million yuan. I calculated that I could earn at most 28 million yuan. Where did you get this number? Little Song laughed again. I paid 20 million myself. Chen Guang turned his head and looked at Zhong Bai beside him. He felt a little embarrassed. All along, brother Little Song had helped him so much because of Zhong Bai's favor. This time, brother Little Song had done such a good job. Not only did brother Little Song not earn money, he even paid for it. But now brother Little Song actually gave him money. How embarrassing. But the fat meat that was already in his mouth, he couldn't bear to spit it out. He cursed in his heart. Little Song, you tricked me. Aren't you making things difficult for me? If I take your money, I don't feel justified. If I don't take your money, I won't be able to face my conscience. Why don't you just not mention this matter? How happy would that be? Zhong Bai looked at the dirty expression on Little Song's face and recalled the joke he had with Chen Guang in the past. At that time, he had been talking to him about the fees for the Racing God training class. Little Song had stuck out a finger. Initially, he had meant 10,000 a day, but Little Song had thought it was 100,000 a day. In the end, Little Song had followed along and continued the conversation. Later on, everyone had talked about this matter. Little Song had said that even if it was 1 million a day, they would not reject it, much less 100,000 a day. At that time, Brother Guang had looked so regretful that he was pounding his chest and stamping his feet. He was an awkward person. He loved money to death, but he was also very thin-skinned. He coughed lightly and patted Chen Guang's shoulder. Brother Guang, don't think that Little Song gave you this money for free. You don't even know how much he got this time. What do you mean? Chen Guang asked, puzzled. Zhong Bai started counting with his fingers. In just a few days, the number of registered users of Little Song's company has doubled, and the number of active users has tripled. The actual traffic of the entire platform has increased by 1.5 times. In the live streaming industry, the overall value of the platform does not increase linearly. The higher the status of the platform in the industry, the more room for the overall market value to increase. Before this competition of yours, his company was ranked third in the country, with a market value of 200 million US dollars. Now that it has become the number one in the country, his current market value is 800 million. F*CK. Then why are you only giving me 20 million? What a beast! Little Song was shocked. He thought that Chen Guang was unhappy and wanted to increase the price. He was so nervous that he did not know what to say. However, Chen Guang waved his hand and said, "All right, I'm just joking with you. I'm not stupid. The market value is just a concept. It doesn't mean that it will change. Besides, the aunties who cook on the street know that this industry looks popular. But in fact, God knows how much of it is not. Everyone knows that. 20 million is not bad. Little Song, you are quite kind. I can't accept more even if you give me." Little Song chuckled. "Thank you, Brother Guang, for your understanding." Zhong Bai sighed in his heart. He was a little disappointed with Little Kong. If Little Song knew Chen Guang's character, he would have gone along with his words and joked with him. He would have slammed the table and howled, "If I earn money, I'll give you 100 million or 200 million. Chen Guang would definitely not want it, but their relationship would become closer. In the end, Little Song was worried that Chen Guang would really increase the price. That would mean that he had underestimated Chen Guang's character. Zhong Bai also understood that although Brother Racing God looked like he did not care about anything, he was actually very clear in his heart. Otherwise, why would he pat his shoulder without batting an eyelid? Chen Guang really thought that way in Zhong Bai's heart, but he did not particularly care. Some people could be brothers, some could be friends, and some could be business partners. People like Little Song, who could be between friends and business partners, were quite reliable, but their personalities did not seem to be particularly compatible with each other. How could one be so lucky in life to meet people who were as compatible as Wang Baoyan and Meng Pi wherever he went? After the celebratory banquet, Chen Guang drove home. Little Loli was sitting in front of the computer, flipping through videos. Although she was not particularly happy to see Chen Guang play games, she was very diligent when it came to work. She did not even need Chen Guang to take the initiative to start editing the exciting scenes from Chen Guang's live broadcasts over the past 2 days. She planned to help him make a documentary and post it on Weibo. Chen Guang stood behind her and watched for a while. He felt his heart ache to see her so focused. Why don't you rest if you're tired? Why don't you go to bed early and do it tomorrow? In fact, his belief in Dodo was already completely full. Even if this documentary was released, there would not be any substantial benefits, but he could not tell little Loli either. If she knew that what she did was useless, how sad would she be? What was even sadder was that she did not understand this game at all. She did not get any of the really exciting scenes. From the beginning to the end, it was only the moment when the opponent fell to the ground. She could not show any exciting maneuvers at all. Enchanting shook her head. No, I'm not sleepy. I'll finish it for you today, and try to release it tomorrow morning. Actually, the people from CCTV said that they wanted to make a compilation. They should have already started working on it now. They have a team. Before he could finish, Enchanting threw away the mouse and turned around to look at him with a wronged expression. Why didn't you say so earlier? You don't know how much of a headache I gave you. What kind of lousy game is this? I don't understand it at all. Previously, I tried to go to that Dota Tieba forum to post a short excerpt, and in the end, hundreds of people scolded me for cutting something like sh*t. It really pissed me off. Chen Guang looked at her helplessly. His heart ached for his little sister for 30 seconds. How would I have thought that you would be so proactive? Oh right, let's go to the city early tomorrow morning. Enchanting only had the mood to say this after she had bitten off an entire watermelon. What are we going to do? Chen Guang was puzzled. To be a boss, Enchanting said a little foolishly. Then, she threw a handwritten document into Chen Guang's hands. Burn it after you read it. Chen Guang did not read it for long before he was amused. He had wasted more than 100 million yuan for Lioli, but he had not seen any results yet. Who knew where that deceptive company that did not even exist was now? He thought that his dream of being a boss was completely shattered. In the end, he had found a glimmer of hope in his darkest hour. According to this document, he was really going to be a boss tomorrow, and it was going to be a super big one at that. Such news would appear on the front pages of all the major media outlets. A new chapter in the economic realization of an internet celebrity. The road to fame of the country's #1 internet celebrity. A well-known multinational financial group splurged 100 million yuan to create the #1 domestic internet celebrity brand. How much can a person's fame be worth? Brother Quan will give you the answer. 130 million yuan. There were too many to list. Chapter 605. But no matter how shocking the title was, the content was more or less the same. Tang Jia Fund, an international financial group from the United States, officially invested in the famous domestic internet celebrity, Superman. The initial investment was $20 million, or about 130 million renminbi. The Tianguang company was established to develop various business and commercialize around Superman. Chen Guang held 50% of the shares in the Tianguang company, and the Tang Jia Fund held 50% of the shares. This terrifying amount of investment completely changed the upper limit of internet celebrity financing and the three views of the internet celebrity economy. This would definitely become a national breaking news. The mysterious but powerful Tang Jia Fund would definitely become a synonym for the rich idiots of the new generation. In fact, even Chen Guang was at a loss. Before the solo competition, Chen Guang had no idea how he could make a living as an internet celebrity. He could earn some Weibo traffic and donations. Then he could start a live stream or accept some advertisements. Over the course of a month, he could easily earn 1 million yen to 2 million yen, and he could be considered as a member of the upper class. Indeed, the world's first solo throne challenge had opened a new world for him. It made him realize that money could be earned this way. But this could be done even without other people's investment. Chen Guang expressed that he did not intend to share a portion of the money with others, especially with a financial group that was tied together for political reasons. Then, other than the solo competition, What other methods could he use to earn money? Using his fame to open a restaurant? Save it. How many celebrities actually made money from their F&B business? Xianhe Zhuang or Shang Qian were the minority. Most of the restaurants opened by celebrities occupied prime locations and were gathering dust. Or a fashion brand. However, Chen Guang swiftly rejected this thought. Celebrities that could establish a fashion brand had to be well suited to the fashion industry. With his down-to-earth character, he wouldn't want to act like a bourgeoisie, so he might as well sell farming tools instead of a fashion brand. After thinking about it, he finally came to a conclusion. There was only one feasible and stable way to cash in his internet celebrity economy: open an online store to sell meat muffins. Okay, that was too stupid. The god of racing and knife, the soon-to-be rising best actor, was selling meat muffins. If word got out, it would be too embarrassing. He shook his head and decided not to think about these useless things. Anyway, other people were throwing money at him. If he could make a profit, of course, everyone would be happy. It didn't matter if he lost money. He clenched his fists silently and thanked the Tang Jie Foundation in his heart for giving him such a huge gift without saying a word. The boss of this financial group must be an honest boy. Of course, Chen Guang knew that this Tianguang company was just a cover. Its essence was a different name, a different style of Guangdong General Administration. It didn't matter if Tianguang Agency made money or not. It didn't even matter if it could survive for a year or two. The most important thing was that during this period of time that the elders needed, Chen Guang had to jump around outside loud enough to leave a good impression on those inner force users that they had all forgotten about their past unhappiness. In the future, he would become an internet celebrity and earn money, and they would continue to hide in the ground and be the local tyrants. The logic was that simple. He just didn't know who this rich and capricious Tang Jie Foundation was. Why would they give him $20 million for free? Did they have too much money to burn? In the end, he continued flipping through the document. When he saw the introduction of Tang Jie Foundation, he burst out laughing. The chairman and biggest shareholder's name was an old acquaintance. It was Tang Ying's genius younger brother Tang Xiaokai. Okay, this young man wasn't stupid. He was smart. No wonder. No matter how talented a person was, there was a limit. This young man was doing well in foreign investments at such a young age. He actually got involved in such a high-end matter. As expected, this meant that the so-called Tang Jie Foundation had the shadow of the Chinese higher-ups behind it from the beginning. In a sense, his $20 million of financing, which was almost like giving away for free, was very meaningful. Chen Guang silently tightened his pockets. This was called someone sending him a pillow when he wanted to sleep. Just as he was feeling distressed that he had spent too much on speculation, someone sent him money. This old man doesn't know much about business, but it's written in black and white on this top secret file that my mission during this period of time is to do my best to produce, and to strive to produce all this money. I must also make a name for myself, and make a name for myself. Thinking of what Jin Shirihua had whispered to him previously, Chen Guang came to a tacit understanding with the old men in Yanjing. Fine, you want me to create more trouble and distract some people's attention. In that case, I'll respectfully accept. Tremble the whole world. I'll let you see what it means by there's no such thing as the most prodigal, only more prodigal. I can't take it anymore. I'm losing control of my power. I can't control my prodigal soul anymore. The scary prodigal soul is about to devour my rationality. Why does it feel so good when I think about spending other people's money? Burn. My prodigal soul. Why are you smiling so wretchedly? Xian Qin, who had been paying attention to him, felt a chill from the bottom of her heart when she saw his expression. Chen Guang touched his face. Am I? Look at my righteous eyes. Are you intimidated by my righteousness? Little Xian Qin, listen carefully. The burden on our shoulders is very heavy. We must successfully complete the task given by the leaders and return the great Huaxia to its former glory. Pfft. Screw you. Remember, the people from Tang Jie Foundation don't know that Tianguang Brokerage is essentially our Guangdong General Office. Don't let the cat out of the bag when we meet up tomorrow. Chen Guang nodded. Nonsense. Do I need you to tell me that? Am I the director, or are you the director? You don't have any self-awareness as a deputy director at all. Director, do you need a Lolita massage? Enchanting squeezed her fingers. Her joints crackled. With bone strength, she could make her fingers as loud as thunder. Chen Guang rejected her righteously. Comrade, the revolution has not succeeded yet. We still need to work hard. Now is not the time to enjoy the sugar-coated bullets of capitalism, like a Lolita massage. Pfft. Enchanting returned to the room next door. Chen Guang rushed to lock the door. Ever since the Lolita rubbed his back yesterday, she had become irritable. Strange. Menopause at such a young age? He didn't know that Enchanting was heartbroken. She had sacrificed so much, but she didn't even get a peek at the slightest bit of dancing volume. She watched as Chen Guang turned the medicine into a watery soup on the spot, without getting anything out of it. On the other side, the financial genius of a generation, who had dominated the domestic and foreign investment market for many years, stirred up a storm. He once fought with the Soros Fund for 300 rounds, and still managed to keep his underwear. He deserved the title of genius. He was known as Wall Street's little white dragon, but now he was scolding someone on the phone. Xiao Kai, what are you thinking about? I know you are doing well now, but do you have to invest so much money in Chen Guang because of me? Tang Ying stood in the garden of the provincial hospital. She didn't have the amiable Dr. Xiao Tang in the eyes of the patients. Instead, she was like a crazy tigress. Sis, listen to me. It's really not like that. Tang Xiaokai was almost like a Spartan. What have I done to deserve this? It's already distressing enough that I inexplicably informed those old men in Yanjing to let me pour out $20 million of cash flow into the water. But it wasn't over. When the news from Wall Street got out, somehow my sister got the news. After I dealt with those old men, I still have to scold my sister. What are you explaining? I don't need you to explain anything. I don't need you to meddle in the matters between me and Chen Guang. Your sister has been holding it in with great difficulty. Forget it. I don't want to talk to you about this. You are too extravagant. Chen Guang is an internet celebrity now, and has quite a reputation. But the internet celebrity economy is a bubble. It will burst if you poke it with a needle. Isn't this money? Tang Ying was indeed very angry. There was a time when she couldn't deny that her relationship with Chen Guang had become a little strange. Especially after they went to the movies together. She felt that this kid was so considerate. She didn't even resist helping him with that thing. She would even think of those things from time to time and secretly blush. But she couldn't feel any disgust in her heart. But later, because of Wu Tong, she and Chen Guang didn't see each other much. It seemed that the awkwardness and ambiguity in the past could be forgotten. Maybe they could slowly return to a normal friendship. Although she had interrogated him under Wu Tong's name, when the news about him and Jin Shirua broke out, Tang Ying couldn't deny the joy in her heart when she heard his firm answer. But time was the strongest detergent in the world. It could wash away too many things. She almost thought that she was about to succeed, but Tang Xiaokai made such a thing. Of course she was angry. Sister, I can't explain it to you. Anyway, don't worry about it. Just pretend that you don't know anything. How can I pretend that I don't know? It's $20 million. Just wait and see. I have to call Dad and see if he won't beat you up. It's useless even if you call Dad. He knows about it too. What? Dad knows? Tang Ying was shocked. How could you tell him about it? Hey, that's not right. I didn't tell him. He told me. Forget it, I really can't tell you. I'm very confused about it, but it involves some secrets, especially scary secrets. It really has nothing to do with you. It's just a coincidence. Sister, think about it. I'm a smart businessman. I'll get it back even if I have to. How could I throw away $20 million just to make you happy? Who's happy? Who are you talking about? I'm not happy at all. I'm super unhappy. You're all bullying me. Chapter 606. Tang Ying hung up the phone. She recalled Wu Tong's call 2 days ago. At that time, Wu Tong told her, Lady Ying, your sister Tong won't be able to return to Wujing anytime soon. Help me keep a close eye on Chen Guang. Don't let those strange little vixens wander around him. He's rich and famous now. You know he can't resist them. You have to help me keep an eye on him. My good sister, can you please help me with this? Tang Ying was afraid that she would steal what she was guarding, so she refused to help. But in the end, she couldn't persuade Wu Tong. Wu Tong didn't want her to have too much contact with Chen Guang either. She only asked her to meet Chen Guang from time to time and have a meal with him. Even if they couldn't have a meal together, they could chat on WeChat. Tang Ying nodded. In fact, Wu Tong was worried about Chen Guang's situation. But she was in a special situation now and couldn't contact Chen Guang too much. So she wanted to take a detour and keep track of Chen Guang's movements through Tang Ying. But she didn't want Tang Ying to get involved too much. So she asked Tang Ying if she was willing to send a WeChat message to ask about Chen Guang. On the other side, Tang Xiaokai held his phone anxiously and didn't know what to say. It seemed that his sister was mad. Alas, forget it. I'll explain it to her slowly after this mess is over. Not long after, he received another call from Tang Ying. You've invested $20 million. Did you send a vice president over to help you? No, I don't think it's necessary, Tang Xiaokai said honestly. Actually, he wanted to send someone. But his father hinted that he shouldn't think about making money from this business. He also didn't want someone to represent him, to keep an eye on Chen Guang. He just wanted Chen Guang to focus on building the company. As long as he didn't run out of money in a month or two, it would be a success. Screw you. You're all crazy. No. Even if I want to pull Chen Guang along for your sister's sake, I can't just watch you guys mess around like this. It's fine if you don't want to send a vice president. I'll go. Tang Ying thought about it and finally said so. You're going? Don't. What? You have a problem with that? Or are you saying that I, Tang Ying, Tang Xiaokai's sister, don't have the right to represent you? Don't forget that I also have a share in Tang Jie's fund. As a shareholder of the Tang Jie Foundation, I have the right to pay attention to the fund's investment. Why don't I call a shareholders meeting now and let the other shareholders vote for me to be the investor representative? Tang Xiaokai opened her mouth wide and couldn't say a word for a long time. She could only say in a muffled voice, then, all right, I only have one thing to say. Don't worry about how Chen Guang spends his money. Shut up. The rest is my problem. Tang Ying hung up the phone with a bang. She rolled up her sleeves in high spirits. She didn't care anymore. It was $20 million. She really didn't know what her father and brother were thinking. Since the money was already thrown out, she had to do something. Tang Ying, can't just watch you guys mess around. The sky was just beginning to brighten, and Chen Guang purposely woke up early. Considering that he was going to be promoted from a monk to a real CEO Chen and boss Guang, he decided to take good care of himself. At the very least, he had to get a beautiful hairstyle. Then, he stood silently in front of the mirror for 30 seconds. It only took him 1 second to tidy up his new hairstyle. He took a handkerchief and gently wiped his bald head, revealing his shiny, fashionable bald head. Done. When are you going to change this car logo back? Enchanting had already complained about Chen Guang's car logo more than once. What do you know? This is called fashion. Fashion my ass. I'm so uncomfortable. Young lady, your outlook on life is a little off. You need Teacher Chen to teach you a lesson. A person's nobility and luxury don't come from their appearance. Look at my car logo. Although it's a Passat, we all know that it's a Phaeton. That's why we look ordinary on the outside, but are noble on the inside. This is especially important. Teacher Chen, do you want to take a picture of me? Enchanting asked. Young lady, don't you learn martial arts? Why are you so knowledgeable? Recently, my master has asked me to learn more about current affairs and to be more wary of you. Anyway, I'm already stuck at the peak of bone force, so there's no point in training hard. If I want to reach skin force, I need more luck. I might as well spend more time on these things. Who knows, maybe understanding the world will give me a sudden epiphany. Both you and your master are knowledgeable. There's a place for you in the new era. Chen Guang turned his face away and thought to himself, what the hell is this Qinjue sect? I might as well call it Qinjue Old Drivers Driving School. On the way, Enchanting contacted the people from the Tang Jie Foundation. They acted quickly and actually rented a conference room at the famous Kaiban Grand Hotel in the city. The press conference was set for 10 a.m. Forget about what the newly established Tianguang company was going to do. They had to hold the press conference first and make their name known. Chen Guang, who was driving, pricked up his ears to eavesdrop on the voice of the person related to the Tang Jia Foundation, who was talking to Enchanting. His heart was itching. The other party seemed to be a female comrade with a beautiful voice. With the old man's years of experience, he could tell that the other party was definitely a beauty. Tang Xiaokai was indeed one of them. He knew the old man's preferences too well. How could I accept this? I'm using your money, and you're sending a beauty to contact me. This young man is a Lei Feng. Oh right. Enchanting. What's the name of the person we're meeting with at the Tang Jia Foundation? Chen Guang decided to find out first. If he confirmed that the other party was a beauty, he had to be polite. Tang Ying. Damn it. Chen Guang almost crashed his head into a telephone pole. It wasn't that he didn't want to see Tang Ying. His relationship with Tang Ying wasn't just an ordinary one, so it was impossible for him to have any opinions about Tang Ying. However, this Tianguang company was just a cover for the Guangding headquarters, and he didn't want Tang Ying to get involved. What was Tang Xiaokai doing? What's wrong with you? Enchanting asked when she saw that his expression wasn't right. Chen Guang shook his head. Sigh. Nothing. Forget it. With Tang Xiaokai's status, he and his Tang Jia Foundation were only responsible for taking the money. They weren't qualified to know the secrets of inner force martial artists. Moreover, this was one of the secret plans of those old men in Beijing, so it was even more impossible for him to know the inside story. Speaking of which, could it be that Tang Ying thought that Tang Xiaokai was taking out the money to sponsor her, an internet celebrity, for her sake, so she took the initiative to get involved? The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. When the two of them arrived at the Kaiban Hotel, there were already a lot of reporters surrounding the hotel lobby and parking lot. Although the internet celebrity all-rounder wasn't considered a big star, considering his identity as Jin Shiyue's boyfriend, and the fact that he had the highest amount of funding in the history of internet celebrities, as well as the fact that he had just completed a phenomenal competition yesterday, it wasn't strange for news about him to attract so many media outlets overnight. Chen Guang was recognized as soon as he got out of the car. At this moment, a large group of people raised their weapons and surrounded Chen Guang and Enchanting, who got out of the car, tightly encircled Chen Guang and Enchanting. Mr. Chen, I heard that the Tang Jia Foundation deliberately offered a sky-high price in order to get the opportunity to work with you. How do you plan to use the $20 million? Mr. Chen, the concept of being an internet celebrity in our country has been around for almost a decade. However, you've only been famous for less than 3 months, and you've already become the publicly acknowledged #1 internet celebrity in China. What do you think of this? I heard that you and Jin Shiyue only meet each other once in a while. Will your relationship be affected if you spend more time apart than together? A while ago, the famous actor Li Longwei publicly expressed his love for Jin Shiyue on Weibo. What do you think of this? Do you have anything to say? This morning, the famous entertainment reporter, Zhuo Wei, the founder of 8 Weekly, said on his Weibo that there's something fishy about the cooperation between the Tang Jia Foundation and you. May I know who the fishy person is? Why does he have it? Mr. Chen, your Dota Throne Challenge has achieved unprecedented success. I'm also a veteran Dota player and your diehard fan. May I know what your next business plan will be? As far as I know, you're not only good at games, your racing skills are second to none in the world. You've even won the World Darts Championship with undisputed results. May I know when you're planning to participate in the WRC World Rally Championship? Currently, there hasn't been a Chinese person who has achieved a dominant victory in the WRC. We really hope to see your exciting performance in the WRC. Mr. Chen, the famous director, Mr. Deng Xiaojiang, will be holding a signing ceremony for his new movie next week. You've interacted with Deng Xiaojiang on Weibo before. May I know if you'll really be acting in director Deng's new movie? A whole bunch of questions came out of the reporters' mouths like a machine gun. Not only were these guys asking questions, They were also trying to stuff their microphones into Chen Guang's face. The one closest to them almost stuffed the microphone into Chen Guang's mouth. There were a few times when he wanted to open his mouth to speak, but he ended up banging the microphone until his teeth hurt. Ever since he became a celebrity, this was the first time Chen Guang had encountered such a situation. He didn't want to admit it, but he was actually a little anxious. Oh my God, how can I answer all these questions? Moreover, there are a lot of things that I'm completely clueless about, okay? But if I don't say anything, will I look very ungentlemanly? Will I look like I don't know how to handle public relations? No, I have to do something. At the very least, I have to pretend to be an experienced person. No, that's not right. The old man is the great sage, right, Chen? The old man can even fool more than 170 billion people in the instantaneous sea. Why would he be afraid of you little reporters? At this moment, an extremely discordant voice emerged from the crowd. This guy's voice was very loud. Hello, Mr. Chen. I'm Zhuo Xiaowei, a special correspondent from 8 Weekly. Zhuo Wei is my father. Previously, there were rumors that your private life was very indecent. May I ask if the rumors are true? The little girl in the car with you is so beautiful. What is her identity? Does she have some unspeakable relationship with you? The noisy crowd suddenly quietened down. This guy's question was very sharp. Moreover, it was obvious that he was making groundless accusations. Up until now, Chen Guang's so-called indecent behavior could only be attributed to Zhuo Jingxi. However, Chen Guang didn't believe that anyone would notice his and Zhuo Jingxi's situation at that time. Other than that, perhaps Wenwen could also be counted as one. However, how could Wenwen's movements be captured by these people? And Annie? Pfft, how could that be possible? So, this unlucky octopus was obviously here to stir up trouble. Zhuo Wei's words earlier were fishy. Now there was this Zhuo Xiaowei's impromptu performance. They must be trying to stir up some dirt on him to attract attention. He was right. Once Zhuo Xiaowei's question came out, no one else was in a hurry to ask. Everyone wanted to know how he would answer Zhuo Xiaowei's question. Seeing that his question had shocked the crowd and calmed them down, Zhuo Xiaowei was extremely pleased. Our Zhuo family still has 8 Weekly. They are an experienced team that specializes in stirring up dirt on us. I really didn't let my old man down. I've learned from him. Let's see how you answer. No matter what you say, I'll be able to come up with something. Even if you say no comment, it's fine. I can still come up with something. Zhuo Xiaowei had even thought of a title. Goddess's Romance exists in name only. All-round internet celebrity keeping his mistress away. Avoiding private life. At that moment, Zhuo Xiaowei did not notice that the super beautiful little girl he claimed to have an unspeakable relationship with Chen Guang had quietly stood beside Chen Guang and stared at him. Chen Guang watched this scene and looked sympathetically at the smug young man. He thought to himself, to be honest, I really want to have an unspeakable relationship with Enchanting, but I can't beat her. Zhuo Xiaowei did not know that danger was approaching. Seeing that Chen Guang was silent, he thought that he had hit the nail on the head. He pressed further. Chen Guang, please answer my question directly. After all, you are a public figure. Public figure? So what if I'm a public figure? Do you guys have to broadcast the entire process of a public figure squatting on the toilet? Chen Guang still did not speak. Instead, it was Enchanting who spoke with her crisp voice. Zhuo Xiaowei looked at Enchanting with some displeasure. This is a serious interview. Why is a high school student like you messing around? How much does Chen Guang give you every month for living expenses? Fine, he had already set up a very good identity for Enchanting, a high school student who was kept as a mistress. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Young man, why are you so good at this? I'm really thankful that you didn't say that I'm a middle school student. At least a high school student can reach the age of 16. So it's not illegal. I've seen people like you before. Now the grass on his grave is enough to start a horse farm. Zhuo Xiaowei from 8 Weekly, right? Didn't you just ask me what my identity is? Now you think I'm a high school student? You want to know how much I earn every month? Enchanting tilted her head and blinked at Zhuo Xiaowei with her big bright eyes. She looked very innocent, very pure, and very cute. Zhuo Xiaowei was overjoyed. He thought he had really caught a big scoop this time. This Chen Guang was not professional at keeping a mistress. He had actually found such an insensible one. Just now, he had deliberately thrown some blame at them, so that he could make up some material when he went back. He never thought that he would actually get something out of her. Many of the other reporters' eyes were also shining. Although they were not paparazzi media like 8 Weekly, this was a super big scoop that could shake the entertainment industry. Who wouldn't want to get first-hand information at the first scene? That's right, young lady. As long as you're willing to have a good chat with me, I promise that 8 Weekly will give you 10 times the amount that Chen Guang gave you. Zhuo Xiaowei said resolutely. Enchanting smiled again. He gave me 10 million last month, and then he gave me 5 million last week. Mr. Zhuo, are you going to give me 150 million? Gasp. For a moment, the whole audience was silent, and there was the sound of people gasping. This little girl's maintenance fee was so high that it made people's hair stand on end. Many entertainment reporters even looked at Chen Guang eagerly. Their eyes seemed to be saying, "Tycoon, do you still need a leg ornament? Is it limited to male and female? If necessary, it's not like we can't discuss it." Some entertainment reporters who were eager to get rich and felt that their image was passable tightened their buttocks a little, and their chrysanthemums inexplicably itched. Some of the female reporters even felt weak all over. Their eyes were burning, and their hearts itched uncontrollably. 15 million for 2 months. If it was true, it would be too scary. Chapter 607. How is that possible? Zhuo Xiaowei exclaimed. There were still some who remained rational. After all, spending 15 million to support a middle school student for 2 months was a little too much. As soon as Zhuo Xiaowei said that, many of the male and female reporters who had almost lost their minds gradually calmed down. Everyone looked at Chen Guang and Enchanting suspiciously. On the other hand, Enchanting gave Chen Guang a meaningful wink, which Chen Guang instantly understood. Fine, since you want to play, I'll play with you. Why not? Chen Guang finally answered. He took a step forward and stood in front of Zhuo Xiaowei, looking straight at him. Don't look down on the world of the rich just because you're poor. As he said that, he even put his hand on Enchanting's shoulder and raised his eyebrows. You guys are frogs at the bottom of a well. How would you know how good a loli is? Look, have you ever seen such a beautiful loli? Chen Guang asked. Everyone followed his gaze and turned to look at Enchanting. Previously, everyone's attention was on Chen Guang, and they only thought that the little girl next to him was pretty and obedient. Only after he deliberately reminded them to look carefully did they realize that this little girl was not as simple as just being pretty and obedient. Her silky hair hung down into her bangs, and a pair of big, lively eyes that could make people forget their sadness at a glance were born on her small face that seemed to be carved out of fine jade. This little girl's beauty was completely different from the so-called internet celebrity faces that were especially popular nowadays. Instead, it was the kind that people could tell at a glance that she was naturally sculpted and had an oppressive aura. Her beauty was so recognizable that even those so-called fairies on TV paled in comparison when she was barefaced. Many people even had a faint feeling of regret in their hearts. How could such a beautiful little girl be kept as a mistress? Were they blind, or were they blinded by lard? How could they think that way? Enchanting looked too innocent, too cute, and too unpretentious. She was completely unlike those seductive foxes outside. Then Chen Guang spoke again. How about it? It's worth 15 million, right? Also, she was already an adult, so it was not illegal. Let alone 15 million. I'll even give you 100 million. Many of the male compatriots' fantasies were shattered in an instant after they heard Chen Guang's words. These people even forgot that they were here for an interview today. One by one, they looked at Chen Guang as if they wanted to bite him to death. This guy was really wasting God's gift. What was wrong with such a beautiful little girl? Why did she become his mistress? In other words, you really spent 15 million on this girl? It was still Zhuo Xiaowei, the descendant of a prestigious family, who was the most professional. At this time, he was also the best at grasping the main point of the day, which was to dig up some juicy information. Chen Guang nodded. Yes. Does Jin Shirwa know about this? Zhuo Xiaowei asked again. Chen Guang shook his head. She doesn't know. Zhuo Xiaowei's eyes became brighter and brighter. The other reporters also became more and more excited. Although it was indeed a pity for this little girl, this was the fate she had chosen. As for us poor losers, we can't care what you rich people do, but we can rely on your news to make money. When we become rich, we can also look for little girls. So Mr. Chen, are you brazenly keeping a female student in front of Jin Shiyue? Zhuo Xiaowei's questions became more and more unscrupulous. Enchanting coughed lightly. Chen Guang silently took a step back, knowing that it was about time. Next, it was up to this little girl to play. In any case, Zhuo Xiaowei was the one who started it. No matter how unlucky he was, he deserved it. You with the surname Zhuo. When did you hear me say that I was a student? Enchanting's face, which was originally smiling, suddenly turned cold. Zhuo Xiaowei froze at first, but he did not mention his earlier offer of 10 times the reward. Instead, he put on a fake smile and said, "It doesn't matter now whether you're a student or not, right? As a reporter, I'm just asking questions that I have the right to ask. I have the right to report the immoral side of a public figure, like Chen Guang, to everyone." Immoral? Enchanting began to laugh coldly. How do you know that giving me money is immoral? Can't he just hire me? Hire you? All right, in a sense, you and him are indeed in an employer-employee relationship. Isn't that right, everyone? Zhuo Xiaowei said meaningfully. He even deliberately raised his voice to ask the others, trying to drag everyone down with him. There were actually 2 or 3 people who snorted and echoed Zhuo Xiaowei's words. Then I'll tell you right now, who am I? Enchanting suddenly made a move. She stretched out her hand like lightning and grabbed Zhuo Xiaowei's collar from bottom to top. I'm Chen Guang's bodyguard cum assistant. The salary to hire me is at least 20 million a year. Zhuo Xiaowei quickly calmed down after a brief moment of panic, when he was suddenly grabbed by the collar. He looked at Enchanting with a fake smile. Little girl, do you want to see tomorrow's news right, that Chen Guang's kept woman arrogantly hit people on the street? Bodyguard, look at your skinny arms and legs. Don't make people laugh. His words stopped abruptly in less than 2 seconds, because his entire body was lifted up by Enchanting, who was a head shorter than him, with what he called skinny arms. His feet left the ground. Do you still think I'm joking? Mr. Zhuo Xiaowei from 8 Weekly? The petite Enchanting single-handedly lifted the burly Zhuo Xiaowei into the air. She raised her head and looked at him indifferently. This scene was full of a strong sense of incongruity, but it was true. Everyone subconsciously stepped back, all roaring in their hearts. We've made a mistake, really made a mistake. This little girl is not simple. You think my bodyguard is not worth 20 million a year? Enchanting gently put one hand on the car roof behind her and exerted force with her palm. With a click, the car roof that was pressed by her palm suddenly changed shape and caved in. Many entertainment reporters were dumbfounded. This was completely beyond their understanding. This little girl is really a strange person. It seems that 20 million a year is worth it. After all, you have to be alive to spend the money. With such a skilled bodyguard, 20 million a year is completely understandable. Seeing that she had stunned these annoying reporters with one move, Enchanting was satisfied. She didn't want those people from the Dart Association to see what she looked like, because she didn't want to become a public figure because of her young age. Because when people become famous, they would have all kinds of troubles, and dealing with these reporters was one of them. Now there was no other way. Since that was the case, Enchanting decided to show her dominance as the senior sister of the Thousand Despair sect. Her expression was cold and her heart roared. Face the wind, stupid reporters, especially you Zhuo. Seeing these people's dumbfounded and frightened expressions, Enchanting was very satisfied. As Chen Guang's assistant, she had won the first battle of public relations. Yes, the reporters were really panicking. This was the Passat's roof, a reliable piece of German craftsmanship, but it was flattened by her slender hand. Wait, this Passat seems a little wide, a little long. Forget it, don't worry about those details. Anyway, the car roof was flattened by her forcefully. She is very good, so it must be true. Enchanting looked at Chen Guang again and raised her eyebrows slightly. Her small eyes seemed to say, "Hurry up and praise me." However, Chen Guang's face was even paler than the reporter's, and he seemed to be in shock. Enchanting rolled her eyes. "Lord Zhu Zhang, you seem to be a little too timid. Put me down." Zhuo Xiaowei, who was raised in the air, seemed to have realized that he was in a bad situation after a brief moment of absent-mindedness. As he struggled with his legs, he clenched his hands, intending to pinch Enchanting's arm and bite her hand. He believed that Enchanting was Chen Guang's bodyguard, but he didn't know that this bodyguard was not the same as the bodyguards of ordinary celebrities. Disgusting. Just as Zhuo Xiaowei's hands were about to grab her forearm, Enchanting suddenly retracted her hands. Then, without waiting for him to land, she flicked his chest a few times with her fingertips. After Zhuo Xiaowei landed on the ground, he sat on his butt. A few seconds later, he began to hold the place where Enchanting's fingers had flicked and began to wail miserably. The other reporters subconsciously moved to the side and looked at this guy with disgust. They had seen this kind of trick many times in the past. It was called an accident. The girl had only lightly patted your chest. Did you have to cry like this? Even if you don't feel embarrassed, we in the same industry are. You bumped into a famous person, and under the eyes of so many reporters in the same industry, aren't you making a fool of yourself? Just now you, a hothead, charged forward and attacked without a care for your life. That's why we gave you some face. But you can't be so unreasonable. Everyone, today is a press conference. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them during the press conference. However, today's topic revolves around Tianguang Agency. Please try not to ask questions that are not part of the topic. Enchanting couldn't be bothered with Zhuo Xiaowei on the ground anymore. Instead, she moved forward a little and reached out her hands to make a gesture to pull the people on the side out. These people had seen how powerful she was, so they didn't dare to block her and quickly made way for her. Enchanting turned around and pulled Chen Guang. Seeing that he was still looking at the dent on the car with a pale face, she thought that he hadn't recovered from the shock. She exerted a little force and finally pulled him back to reality. "Hurry up and go upstairs. The press conference is about to start." Chen Guang followed Enchanting a few steps like a zombie. Seeing that there was finally no one around the two of them, Enchanting was a little angry. "Brother Chen Guang, you're someone who has seen a lot. Didn't I just flatten the car's roof? Do you have to be so scared? Your Wenwen's black chop is much more powerful than mine. It's not a problem for her to cut your car in half with a full force slash." Wait. Enchanting seemed to remember something. She pondered over her words. "Your car. You finally remembered." "That's right, that's my car." Chen Guang looked at her with eyes like a dead fish. His heart was still bleeding. "My dear sister, I won't stop you from showing off. I'm proud of it. But don't use my car as a prop. It's said that a man's car is equivalent to half of his wife. With a slap from you, my wife went from a B cup to a negative A cup. Who am I going to complain to? The money is a small matter. The insurance company will definitely not pay for it. I'll just have to pay a few tens of thousands. But can you understand the pain in my heart? My baby is hurt by one of our own. Don't be like this. At most, I'll pay for it." "You don't have to pay for it. I gave you your money in the first place. If you pay for it, it'll be equivalent to me paying for it. I just feel sorry for my little tung-tung." "Little tung-tung?" "Yeah, isn't Phaeton just little tung-tung? Why not little tung-tung-tung? You're the winner." When the two of them entered the elevator, only then did Chen Guang recover from his grief. At the same time, he recalled that unlucky fellow Zhuo Xiaowei. "In my opinion, you went too easy on that fellow. At the very least, you should have torn his mouth apart. I hate paparazzi reporters who take things out of context and distort the truth. They have no conscience and rely on smearing public figures to gain fame. I'm such an upright person. And he said that I have a promiscuous private life. He even pretended to be injured to make a scam? Where's his conscience as a journalist?" Enchanting suddenly asked. "Does the white tiger look good?" Chen Guang's expression did not change. The albino Bengal tiger is a white variant of the Bengal tiger. It's native to Yunnan, Myanmar, India and Bangladesh. It's a first-class protected animal and India's national treasure. There are only about 210 white tigers left in the world. It's very rare. Due to the lack of camouflage, it's very difficult for them to survive in the natural world. We have to protect them. Shameless. Enchanting stepped on his foot. Chen Guang expressed that the invincible heavenly leg plate was not afraid of this kind of insignificant sneak attack. Actually, I hit him quite hard just now. He wasn't faking it. He was really in pain. Chen Guang stared. What? I saw that you didn't just use your fingers to flick him a few times? Could it be that this is the long-lost acupoint technique of Jianghu? You hit his pain acupoint. Nothing like that. You're completely wrong. First, the acupoint technique is not completely lost. It's just that I don't know how to do it. At least from what I know, the sunflower acupoint technique is still good. They're really in pain. Although I know acupoints, what I'm doing is called the acupoint sealing technique. It's just injecting my inner force into someone else's body and forcefully using it to seal their meridians. Also, I didn't seal his acupoints. He's just an ordinary person. If I really sealed his acupoints, I'm afraid he'd die. Just now, I really cracked a few of his ribs with my bone. That's why he's screaming in pain. So ruthless? Not bad. I like it. It's just that we might have a big grudge with them. What's there to be afraid of? You won't have the money to pay for it anyway. That seems to be the case, right? But why aren't you the one paying? Didn't you just say it? Anyway, you're the one who gave me the money. Is the white tiger nice? Nice. Do you want to see more? Helping my assistant come bodyguard to pay for the lawsuit is my responsibility as a small boss. Don't fight me for it. Chen Guang's guess was right. As he and Enchanting went upstairs, the other reporters also hurried up to join the press conference. Poor Zhuo Xiaowei cried on the floor for a long time. In the end, no one paid any attention to him. In the meantime, the hotel staff came by once, intending to comfort him. It turned out to be a very fashionable man. Before the man left, he said, "I recognize you. You're the paparazzi with the surname Zhuo. The one who screamed online about celebrities with the surname L taking drugs. You've caused so much trouble for my Ronaldo. Keep screaming, I'm too lazy to care about you." Zhuo Xiaowei had to call 120 himself for an ambulance. Lying on the floor, the hot August sun shone on his face, making him feel uncomfortable. The broken ribs on his chest felt like they were being scratched by a bear's claw. It hurt like hell. He gritted his teeth. Chun. And that shameless little girl who pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. I'm not done with you. Oh my God, it hurts so much. Chapter 608. By the way, the first batch of our Guangdong Bureau's employees are already on standby in the 5 capitals. After the press conference today, and the company is officially established, we have to recruit them as soon as possible. Before the elevator door opened, Enchanting suddenly thought of this matter and said. Chen Guang only grunted through his nose. The hard-working deputy director was much more attentive to this matter than the director himself. Very good. I like this kind of assistant who only thinks that she is not busy enough all day long and takes on all the work. Chen Guang wasn't afraid that he would become a mere figurehead. Now that he had taken on this unlucky director position, it was only because the trouble between him and Wenwen with those internal forces wasn't over yet. Once that was over, he wasn't interested in being the imperial court's dog anymore. How could it be more comfortable to listen to someone else's orders than to mess around blindly all day long? Wu Tong was the new branch director of the Science and Technology Division, which made people envious. Wasn't her father still able to come back to Beijing whenever he wanted? Right now, all he could think about was how to face Tang Ying when he saw her later. Sigh, Sister Tang Ying wasn't easy to fool, but he couldn't let her know the truth either. This meant that he had somehow become a man who relied on a woman to get his position. Actually, this wasn't the case at all. But according to a normal person's train of thought, as long as they knew about his relationship with Tang Ying, they would definitely think that Tang Xiaokai was throwing a huge sum of money at him because of Tang Ying. Without a doubt, Tang Ying was the normal person who knew the truth. As the elevator slowly opened, Chen Guang peeked his head in. Just as he had expected, Tang Ying was standing by the door with her hands crossed, looking at him with a frosty expression. Standing behind her were 17 to 18 people, and Chen Guang guessed that they should be from the Tang Jie Fund. Tang Ying tried her best to keep a straight face. She wanted to put Chen Guang in his place. After all, in her impression, Chen Guang didn't seem to be a business-minded person. This was a $20 million investment project. If Chen Guang was really in charge of it, wouldn't his reputation skyrocket? In the end, her cold face didn't even last 5 minutes in front of Chen Guang. She really didn't want to admit that she was soft-hearted. Anyway, when she saw Chen Guang's sneaky expression, she couldn't help but laugh in her heart. Pfft! Chen Guang hadn't thought of how to deal with Tang Ying when she put on a straight face. She smiled, walked up to him, and gave him a dirty look. "You're so cocky this time. Don't you want to be rich all day long? Do you look down on rich people? Now that you're rich yourself, what are you going to do?" Chen Guang scratched his head. Damn, Tang Ying's expression just now was too scary. He really thought she was going to scold him. This happened quite suddenly. To be honest, it was brother Little Kai who made the first move. I was just lying down at home when he said he wanted to invest in me. At that time, I didn't agree. I thought to myself, how can I do that? Brother Little Kai's money. Doesn't that mean Sister Ying's family's money? How can I rely on your money to become rich? I rejected him harshly, but he wouldn't let me. He even said that if I didn't agree, he would donate the money to the Marine Conservation Organization. I thought to myself, how can that be? If it's left with me, at least I can get a few blisters. But if it's thrown into the sea, I won't even be able to see a ghost shadow. I was forced to do something beyond my capabilities. Sigh. This was the advantage of being thick-skinned. Chen Guang could easily lie through his teeth. No matter what, Tang Ying didn't seem to be very happy. So he decided to throw all the blame to Little Kai first. Of course, he was a self-reliant young man. Tang Ying suddenly understood. She actually believed Chen Guang's words. She had always known that although Chen Guang loved money, he wasn't greedy. He was also someone who cared about his reputation. The establishment of Tianguang Agency, this time was most likely due to Little Kai's enthusiasm. Now that the two of them had matched each other's statements, Chen Guang was right. Tang Ying patted his shoulder and began to comfort him. Don't worry, it's fine if I didn't know about it. Now that I'm involved, I can't let things go wrong. You don't have much experience, but it's fine. I'll help you. Since the company has been set up, we have to make it look good. The competition you organized a few days ago was pretty good. Shall we do it again next month? To be honest, Sister Tang Ying, I think you're slightly more unreliable than me. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Just from her words, he knew that she was in the same league as him. What the hell do you know about business? You're just a doctor, okay? Even a normal person could understand that the first time a competition like the Throne Challenge was held, it was because it was fresh. If you held it every other month, people would know that they would definitely lose. Who would still participate? The passion of the audience wouldn't be enough for you to continue spending money like this, okay? He couldn't help but feel deeply worried about the future of Tianguang Agency. He was in the top position, and all he could think about was squandering and spending money. The second position was a female doctor who thought she knew how to do business. But in fact, she only knew how to play with a scalpel. Forget it, we're all in the same league. This way, when we squander, we'll definitely lose in style and taste. As the group walked in, the other people from the Tang Jie Foundation secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Previously, Tang Ying had been putting on a cold face. Everyone thought that she had something against the new internet celebrity, Chen Guang. They all thought that when the two people in charge of the new company met, there would be a huge commotion. However, the two of them were so familiar with each other. It seemed like they knew each other long ago. They were relieved that they were on the same side. As they walked, Tang Ying suddenly tugged on Chen Guang's sleeve and asked in a low voice, "Hey, who's this pretty girl?" Chen Guang went along with what Enchanting said. "She's my bodyguard and assistant." Bodyguard and assistant? Stop it, or I'll tell Wu Tong. Of course, Tang Ying didn't believe his nonsense. Chen Guang wasn't afraid of a crooked shadow. I'm not joking with you. A real bodyguard. You'll know when you see the news later. Before we came up just now, someone from 8 Weekly had already caused trouble downstairs. Tang Ying was surprised. 8 Weekly? They're not a good media. They're always slandering people. In the entire entertainment industry, I'm afraid only your Jin Shuyue and a few other celebrities haven't been slandered by them. What do you mean by your Jin Shuyue? You're still joking with me. It doesn't matter. I'm not afraid of them slandering me. So what if I hit her? What? You even beat him up? As a female comrade with a penchant for gossip, Tang Ying usually paid attention to gossip. She instantly realized the seriousness of the situation. It wasn't good for a celebrity to hit someone, let alone someone from 8 Weekly. Wouldn't they be slandered? Yes, she hit him and even broke him. Chen Guang turned to look at Enchanting. Enchanting put up 5 fingers. Chen Guang added, 5 ribs. 5 ribs. Oh my God. Hurry up and get Jin Shuyue to help you. If not, our company will be shut down before it even opens for business. Tang Ying was anxious. Chen Guang coughed and said softly, I've already hit her, and they know who I am. They will still slander me. What's the use of asking Jin Shuyue to help them? Besides, you know that Jin Shuyue and I are innocent. How can we trouble her for such a small matter? At this moment, Chen Guang couldn't wait to cut off his relationship with Jin Shuyue. So how could he ask for help for something like this? What if Jin Shuyue's grandfather came after him again? Although Jin Shuyue might be able to resolve this matter, wouldn't he be walking right into a trap? Forget it. That's true. Sigh. Tang Ying's brows were tightly knitted together. She felt that her position as the vice president of Tianguang Talent Agency was starting off on a bad note. Her company hadn't even been officially established yet, and she had already offended the notorious paparazzi team of the entertainment industry. Her future was bleak. Sister Ying, calm down first. Those who want to achieve great things shouldn't be bothered by trifles. You are our deputy CEO. If you are frowning over such a small matter, won't your employees lose confidence for nothing? That's true. I don't think I'm cut out for this. There are many things to do in the hospital. Why don't I ask little Kai to send someone else here? I don't think I can help you much. I think so too. Chen Guang quickly agreed. He hoped that Tang Ying would leave. Unexpectedly, Tang Ying turned to look at him. You want me to leave so badly? I won't. I didn't want to care about this at first, but I can't. This is my family's money. I realized that if it were someone else, no matter who it is, they wouldn't be able to control you or this matter. Well, it had the opposite effect. Chen Guang touched his forehead. He didn't know why, but it felt a little hot. There were no more problems at the press conference. The reporters had planned to ask about the relationship between Chen Guang and Jin Shuyue, but Enchanting had been standing behind Chen Guang with her hands behind her back, glaring at the audience. Many of the reporters recalled what had happened downstairs, especially the Passat that had been dented. Zhou Xiaowei from Octave Weekly had been beaten up. Although they didn't know how badly injured he was, it seemed that he had been sent to the hospital. It was better not to invite trouble. This new internet celebrity didn't seem to play by the rules. Before they figured out his temperament, they shouldn't look for trouble. The entire press conference lasted for about half an hour. There was nothing new. Tang Ying, as the representative of the Tang Jie Foundation, read the script and explained why the Tang Jie Foundation had chosen to cooperate with Chen Guang. It was because it was the information age. It was rare to find a new type of internet celebrity like Chen Guang, who could provide original content, and had the titles of the world champion of darts and Dota. Both parties would build the Tianguang agency around Chen Guang, and go all out to unearth the all-rounder's IP for greater economic benefits. Then Chen Guang stood up again. He also held the script that Tang Xiaokai had arranged for someone to write for him. He read it and was done. Then, today's press conference will end here. Thank you, friends from the news media, for coming. Although there was a little unpleasantness downstairs, our CEO Chen didn't have any ill intentions. It was really because the staff of Octave Weekly had no professional ethics. We have prepared small gifts for our friends from the media at the entrance of the conference room. Please don't forget to collect them later. Although he didn't send anyone at the deputy CEO level over, Tang Xiaokai still helped Chen Guang set up the basic structure of the company's leadership. At this moment, the host of the press conference was the temporary administrative manager. He was also in charge of the public relations department. His name was Yu Hong, a very capable middle-aged man. At this moment, the door of the press conference was suddenly pushed open. A fat man in his 40s or 50s barged in angrily. There were 3 to 6 men in black behind him. What do you mean by no professional ethics? My son was doing a normal interview and was sent to the hospital by your people. He broke 5 ribs. Who is the one with no professional ethics? Chen Guang. You have to give me, Zhuo Wei, an explanation. Otherwise, this matter won't end. I'll see you in court. The fat man walked forward quickly. The staff wanted to stop him, but they were all restrained by the men in black beside Zhuo Wei. Chen Guang's eyes narrowed slightly. After beating up the young one, the old one came. That was fast. It was impossible that Zhuo Wei didn't know that Xianqin knew martial arts and was a powerful bodyguard. Yet he still dared to barge into the conference. Either he had an expert by his side, or he knew that he would be in trouble and deliberately brought people to get beaten up. He was waiting for things to get out of hand. As the company's current head of public relations, Yu Hong reacted quickly. He walked up to Zhuo Wei. Mr. Zhuo, this is our press conference venue. If you have anything to say, you can say it in private. It's not very convenient for us now. Get lost. You have no right to speak here. Unexpectedly, Zhuo Wei didn't give him any face at all. He, Zhuo Wei, was the leader of 8 weekly magazines. 8 Weekly Magazines was a famous paparazzi organization in the country, but its base was in the 5 capital region. He had been operating in the 5 capital region for many years. His own son was actually beaten up and seriously injured right under his nose. He was already furious. Moreover, he was here to cause trouble. Of course, his attitude had to be arrogant enough. Otherwise, how could he make the matter bigger and livelier? Talk in private? No way. I want to take advantage of the fact that this is a press conference. The other reporters haven't left yet. While you guys are holding back, I want to make the matter bigger. Zhuo Wei secretly made a gesture. From the corner of his eyes, the man in black beside him reached out and pushed Yu Hong. Yu Hong looked like a weak scholar. He didn't expect Zhuo Wei's people to be so daring. He was pushed back and fell backward. His head hit the corner of the chair behind him heavily. His forehead was scraped hard and blood started to flow. Blood was seen on the stage. Zhuo Wei was a little flustered at first, but he was secretly happy. Anyway, Chen Guang was a famous person. Although Zhuo Wei's fame wasn't small, everyone knew what kind of person he was. He didn't care about his reputation at all. It was good that he got hurt. He continued to look at Chen Guang with a face full of pride. In his heart he kept saying, "Come on, do it. Beat me up. I have 19 cameras hidden on me. They will clearly record the scene of you making a move. I guarantee that you'll have to prepare at least a few million to buy this big news from me. Other than that, you can just wait to enjoy my 24/7 surveillance. I guarantee that I'll clearly take pictures of whatever color of underwear you like to wear, and the size of your little penis." Chapter 609. The atmosphere at the scene became extremely awkward. Yu Hong, who was accidentally injured, slowly stood up with the help of the staff. The wound on his head was a little big, and blood was still flowing out from the gaps between his fingers that were covering the wound. Many reporters from other major media companies crowded together, drawing a clear line between them and Zhuo Wei. No matter what, this was someone else's press conference. Your son deserved to be beaten up for picking a fight. Even if others did go a little overboard, compared to you bringing a bodyguard to wreak havoc in the heavenly palace, they really paled in comparison. What's more, there was blood. Things were getting out of hand. But what was Chen Guang going to do? How was this newly established Tianguang agency going to deal with this? Everyone looked towards the direction where Chen Guang and Tang Ying were standing side by side. At this time, Chen Guang was squinting at Zhuo Wei. No one knew what he was thinking, but they were sure that he was not very happy. Tang Ying's brows were tightly knitted. She pulled on Chen Guang's collar from behind and quickly turned to the staff member beside her to quickly move the first aid kit from the trunk of her car. Although the wound on Yu Hong's head looked frightening, Tang Ying was a top doctor who excelled in both internal and external medicine. She also had a wealth of clinical experience as a chief surgeon. The effect of her emergency treatment on Yu Hong's head was better than sending him to a nearby hospital. Seeing that Yu Hong's head was bleeding more and more, although Zhuo Wei was a little regretful, he did not panic at all. He could not wait for Chen Guang to fly into a rage and hit him on the spot. Why did he have to eat so much? Wasn't it because he had to rely on the thick layer of fat on his body to block the damage when he was hit? Full-fat armor was super easy to use. It had first-class shock absorption and resistance. No matter how long he wore it, he would not feel any pain. It provided 24/7 security. Anyone who used it would know. As for the compensation for injuring Yu Hong, Zhuo Wei was also not worried. Wasn't it just a small wound on his head? How much compensation could he pay? His son even had a few broken ribs. Everyone should take turns to pay, so he should be the one paying. As for Chen Guang's bodyguard, Zhuo Wei was also paying attention to it. As long as the girl came over, he would fall to the ground. It wouldn't matter even if he got beaten up by her, since he wouldn't be crippled. He did not believe that with so many reporters present, Chen Guang would dare to let his bodyguard cripple him. Kid, I know you were quite capable in the past. As a professional intelligence agent, I am naturally clear about the grudges between you and Su Lijing. But I, Zhuo Wei, am not Su Lijing. As people in the media, we have our own philosophy of survival. Public opinion is our weapon. We use our fists to fight with real knives and guns. That's just a pretense. What we are best at is using a soft knife to skin you bit by bit. If you're just a nobody, perhaps I might not be able to do anything to you. But you're a celebrity on the internet, and you've just received an investment of $20 million. You're intending to show off your capabilities. But if you really want to make a name for yourself in the entertainment industry, you have to be like countless people in the past and worship me. Do you think I am the #1 paparazzi in China for nothing? Even if you look like a volcano that is about to erupt, and even if you beat me up today, it does not matter. You will bow down sooner or later, just like many people in the past. This was not the first time that Zhuo Wei and his 8 weekly magazines had faced or created a situation similar to today's. Whether it was Zhuo Wei himself or his peers who were watching, they all understood that Zhuo Wei was a difficult person to deal with. 8 weekly magazines was a media that they could not afford to offend. Even if there were too many people who hated them, Zhuo Wei and his 8 weekly magazine were still living comfortably. They were the troublemakers of the entertainment industry. They could also be said to be the dark forces in the industry. Of course, the existence of people like them also played a role in supervising the artists. After all, they had exposed real scandals and caught 2 or 3 artists who were suspected of taking drugs. Their specialty was to uncover scandals. If they couldn't uncover anything, they would create their own scandals. For example, they would get their reporters to purposely run in front of the hot-tempered celebrity and turn on the flash to take pictures of the celebrity's eyes. Tomorrow's headlines would be XX acts like a big shot, hits reporters, smashes cameras. F***CK. I was just walking and you blinded me with your flash. What's wrong with me smashing your camera? But the public did not think about this. When they saw the headlines and read the text that was taken out of context, they would say, "Why is this celebrity so uncultured? What kind of lousy celebrity is this? Isn't he just a hooligan?" The artists were confused. No matter how wrong they were, there was nothing they could do about it. Others could find ways to slander them. No one was perfect. Who didn't have any flaws? People like Zhuo Wei were best at magnifying other people's trivial flaws in front of everyone. Also, when they couldn't get any big news, they would run to the tall building opposite the art gallery and set up a telescope. Then, a new bombshell was brewed. XXX bold style, naked in his bedroom, accompanied by a pornographic photo that was clearly taken clearly, but was actually deliberately fogged to make it look hazy. The artist who was photographed wanted to F***CK Zhuo Wei. He couldn't even take off his clothes in his own bedroom. But no matter how angry he was, He had no choice. This kind of news couldn't be released. Once it was released, his image would be ruined. At this moment, Zhuo Wei said, "You don't want to publish it? Fine, 2 million. I'll delete the photo." After he got the money, no one would know whether he deleted the photo or not. But he wouldn't be able to publish it for a while. There was also the question of who was cheating, who was stealing from the parking lot, or who was looking for someone who looked similar to the artist and posed for a photo. Or it could be that he had received money from some company to deliberately target the other party's competitor. Or it could be that he simply couldn't stand the sight of someone and stalked them to secretly take photos to slander them. As long as he could make use of the artist's cherishing of their reputation to make money, he, Zhuo Wei, would do it even if he had to poke a hole in the sky. Of course, there were some people he wouldn't provoke easily. For example, Jin Shiyue, Jiang Yage, and a few other artists who were similar in status to the two women. It wasn't that Zhuo Wei didn't want to provoke them. It was just that these people had too big of a background. Of course, for someone like him who had control over public opinion, he wasn't afraid of them no matter how big of a background they had. It was just that he had previously sent out a few people to stalk them, but those people were still locked up in some prisons for espionage. Zhuo Wei really couldn't afford to provoke them. The paparazzi under his name didn't dare to stalk them either. They could still take a photo of them when they bumped into them, but stalking them was a different matter altogether. Without a doubt, this situation that Zhuo Wei had single-handedly directed was the first big crisis that Tianguang Agency, which had just been established for less than half an hour, was facing. Everyone knew that Zhuo Wei was here for money, but Chen Guang and his Tianguang Agency couldn't give in so easily. Their own people were already bleeding. How could they still talk about money with others? If this matter were to spread out and land in the industry, it would definitely solidify the reputation of being weak and easily bullied. Even if 8 Weekly Magazine dealt with it, there was still 9 Weekly Magazine, Hexagram Weekly Magazine, Dog Eyes World, Chaoyang News Agency, and so on and so forth. These people would be like sharks that smelled blood and would flock to them. No matter how big a company was, it wouldn't be enough to cause so much trouble. Although Chen Guang planned to squander this time, he definitely wouldn't let his money feed the dogs. But if he really took action, it would go along with Zhuo Wei's wishes, and the situation would be difficult for him to back down. Many sharp-witted reporters started guessing in their hearts. It was obvious that the person with the most experience in public relations at Tianguang Agency was the host, Yu Hong. Unfortunately, he was holding his head and was about to collapse. Miss Tang Ying, the vice president of Tang Jie Foundation, seemed to be quite mature, but no one knew how she was going to handle it. Tang Ying was also anxious at this moment, but she had no choice. She was a doctor. After a slight hesitation, she said to Chen Guang, "I'll bring Yu Hong to the back to stitch up his wounds. Don't do anything rash. Don't do anything rash." Yu Hong's injuries couldn't be delayed, and the bleeding had to be stopped as soon as possible. There were too many people in the conference room, and the air wasn't circulating, which wasn't good for disinfection. They had to move. Chen Guang smiled at Tang Ying. "It's okay, don't worry. I definitely won't do anything rash." He smiled very kindly and calmly. Tang Ying was momentarily dazed. She really thought that this little brother of hers had grown up recently, become more sensible and mature. "All right, we'll go to the back first." Zhuo Wei wasn't in a hurry to make things difficult. After Tang Ying brought people with her to help Yu Hong away, he continued to stiffen his neck and took a step forward. "Mr. Chen, I'm very sorry for accidentally injuring your employee. I'll pay for this. However, my son has 5 broken ribs. How are you going to explain this matter?" Enchanting took 2 steps forward and walked past Chen Guang. She said in a low voice, "I'll settle him." Chen Guang pulled Enchanting back. "I'll settle this matter. Don't interfere." He wasn't afraid that Enchanting would accidentally kill someone. With Enchanting's kung fu, she would still have some sense of propriety. Chen Guang was just angry. He wouldn't feel comfortable if he didn't do something. The old man's thoughts weren't clear. "Since you're asking for a beating, if I don't satisfy you, how can I face myself in you? Mr. Chen, How about we settle this privately for 2 million? When Chen Guang walked closer, Zhuo Wei lowered his voice and sneered. Chen Guang was so angry that he laughed. Isn't it just money? Is there a need to make such a big fuss? Does the #1 paparazzi in China have such a small appetite? Zhuo Wei was a little stunned. Zhuo Xiaowei's medical fees were at most tens of thousands. He felt that his asking price was high enough, but he ended up being laughed at? What do you mean? He looked at Chen Guang warily. He was a little excited and nervous. Could it be that Chen Guang wanted to increase the price? Also, although he was mentally prepared to be beaten up, he was the one who became famous after beating up a famous person. Although Chen Guang was an internet celebrity, he was the #1 internet celebrity in China. He was quite influential in the world and had many fans overseas. However, getting beaten up was like getting an injection. Even if he was mentally prepared, he would still be nervous. It's nothing. I just think it's funny. That's why a dog can't stop eating sh*t. You made such a big scene, and even made my man bleed. I thought you were really going to turn the world upside down. In the end, you only want 2 million? If a person who can't be seen in public wears a suit, then he can't be seen in public either. Chen Guang said seriously. He wasn't joking. Zhuo Wei was dressed like a successful person, and Chen Guang was wearing a t-shirt today. He was very casual and looked like a college student. However, he had made 48 million from the competition he organized previously. His daily income was more than a few 100,000. Previously, he was almost intimidated by Tang Ying's title as the #1 paparazzi in China. But now, Zhuo Wei's words had exposed one thing. No matter where the #1 paparazzi was, a paparazzi was still a paparazzi. He couldn't change his nature of eating sh*t. No matter how expensive sh*t was, it couldn't be more expensive than diamonds. So what do you want? Zhuo Wei shook his fat body. Today, he would either get the money or get the scoop to earn more money. He looked around proudly at his peers, who were all focused on him. He thought to himself, kids, watch out. I'll let you see what it means to be a top media person. If there's no news, then I'll create news. The highest level of creating news is to turn myself into news. Debts must be paid. Murder must be paid with one's life. It's only right and proper. I'll slowly pay for your son's medical fees. It's fine if you want to go to court or settle it privately. I'll slowly accompany you. But your man made my employee bleed. I'll pay too. No need. I'll take it myself. The moment Chen Guang finished speaking, he suddenly made a move. He pushed Zhuo Wei's fat body to the side and took a step forward towards the man in black who had pushed Yu Hong. He made a move. He really made a move. All the reporters, including the Tang Jie Foundation's employees, were dumbfounded. They really thought that Chen Guang was going to negotiate with the man. But it turned out that he didn't want to negotiate from the start. He was going to make a move. You're a celebrity. You've just set up a company. Yet you're hitting someone at your own company's press conference. Aren't you a little too ridiculous? Only Enchanting rolled her eyes in disdain. She curled her lips and muttered softly. If you want to hit someone, just hit him. Why do you have to talk so much? On the other end, Chen Guang had already grabbed the man's arm at lightning speed. Among ordinary people, Chen Guang was considered rather tall. After all, he was slightly more than 1.8 meters tall. However, this man in black was a strong man that Zhuo Wei had carefully selected. He was 1.9 meters tall and looked extremely strong. His entire body seemed to be thicker than Chen Guang's. Brother all-rounder would probably be at a disadvantage, right? The reporters and the Tang Jie Foundation were worried. Actually, Zhuo Wei was a little flustered. He was here to ask for a beating. If his bodyguard were to injure him instead, it would feel good. However, he wouldn't be in the right, and would have to pay for it. Therefore, Zhuo Wei desperately winked at his bodyguard, telling him not to act recklessly. Wait, the situation doesn't seem right? Zhuo Wei suddenly realized that Chen Guang was only holding his bodyguard's arm with one hand. But his very strong bodyguard's face turned pale. Bastard! Let go! The strong man was pinched with his left hand that pushed Yu Hong down, but his right hand was free. He raised his fist high and tried to hit Chen Guang. Gongzi, don't mess around. Zhuo Wei shouted subconsciously. It hurts. Boss. It hurts. The strong man named Gongzi roared and swung his right fist down. Chen Guang's expression still didn't change. He just gently raised his left hand and caught Gongzi's right fist. Don't worry, it will hurt very soon. After a moment, Gongzi's temples broke out in a cold sweat, and his pale face quickly turned pale. There was a sudden cracking sound in the quiet conference room. Everyone's pupils shrank, and their eyes all looked at the place where Chen Guang used his right hand to pinch Gongzi's left forearm. Strange, the sound just now seemed to come from this place. Then Chen Guang loosened his right hand and pushed again with his left hand. Gongzi covered his hand and stepped back 2 steps. He sat down on the ground. His face was covered with dense beads of sweat that flowed down his face, as if he was enduring great pain. Boss, my hand is broken. Gongzi's teeth were chattering, and he said in a hoarse voice. As soon as they heard this, seeing that their buddy was injured, the other bodyguards who were planning to move closer to Chen Guang suddenly stopped. Zhuo Wei was also shocked and opened his mouth wide. He couldn't believe his ears. The other reporters were not much better. How could there be such a thing? They didn't see him use much strength. He just used his 5 fingers to pinch someone's forearm, and the bones were broken? T. This Gongzi was not a small thin man. His forearm was as thick as an ordinary person's calf. Chen Guang looked back at Zhuo Wei and shrugged. Whichever hand he used to hurt my staff, I will break his hand. You should be glad that he didn't hit it with his head. Otherwise, I would have broken his neck. Well, you can slowly look for a disability certificate. I don't care how much compensation I have to pay. Anyway, I have money. I can be so capricious. Zhuo Wei slowly stepped back. He would rather Chen Guang jump up and fight with him hysterically. It would be more comfortable than him smiling and casually breaking the bones of his own bodyguard. Zhuo Wei had seen a lot of celebrities and was beaten by celebrities, but he had never encountered such a style. He was smiling at you, but the result was that he suddenly broke the hand of your strong bodyguard. He broke it. Broken. This guy must be a lunatic, right? Zhuo Wei thought. Chen Guang made a pose that he thought was handsome. I know you have a camera on you. Come, take a picture of me to make me look more handsome. F***ck, this is a lunatic. Zhuo Wei and the reporters present thought at the same time. The people from the Tang Jie Foundation were not any better. Others wanted to take a picture of you. Who the F***ck would care if you were handsome or not? Chapter 610. Zhuo Wei was a little scared, but Chen Guang's words gave him a little more courage. That's right, don't I have a camera on me? It's not an ordinary camera. It's a real-time recording, which will be uploaded to the cloud server through the 4G network. As long as Chen Guang makes a move, my camera will record it, and that will be the evidence. What am I afraid of? As long as I can get something big enough, even if he's arrogant now, he'll have to surrender sooner or later. Who wouldn't be afraid of getting a bad reputation? Even if he's a terrible artist, wouldn't he have to wear a hypocritical mask? Zhuo Wei's strong desire for money, and he thought he understood the mind of an artist, so his courage gradually returned to him. Just now, when he broke Gangzi's hand, the whole process was too strange, and he wasn't brutal and fierce enough on the camera. After editing, the audience couldn't form the impression that Chen Guang was a very rude person. That footage wasn't fierce enough. 300% profit was enough to make people crazy. This time, if things went well, he would strengthen his surveillance on Chen Guang and casually shoot something. Zhuo Wei was confident that he could make this a big business with millions of dollars. Didn't he just say that 2 million was too low? Chen Guang, you intentionally hurt people. I'm going to sue you. I'll sue you and put you in jail. Zhuo Wei, who regained his courage, no longer retreated. Instead, he took a step forward, and at the same time, he waved his hand and ordered the people behind him. Call the police. Call the police. Chen Guang was so angry that he laughed. He was the one who found trouble, and he was the one who called the police after being unlucky. This person's skin was really thick to a new level. But after thinking about it, Chen Guang immediately felt relieved. In a certain sense, someone like Zhuo Wei might have offended many people in the Vanity Fair. But he's still so carefree. Aside from the fact that he has too much dirt on various celebrities, his ability to use the law was also the reason why he's able to survive. For ordinary people, the law was what they relied on to protect their legal rights. However, for people like Zhuowei who had a professional team, they often used their familiarity with the law to exploit loopholes in the law. They could protect themselves and at the same time, disgust others. For example, in today's incident, although Yu Hong's injuries were not light, they had their own recordings. They could say that it was an accident, and they could compensate for it. But for Chen Guang, in Zhuowei's view, although the process of him breaking Gang Zi's hand seemed very strange, as long as it was done properly, it could be considered as intentional injury. Even if they couldn't really sue him, for an artist, if he was brought to court, no matter what the final verdict was, it would be a big deal. He didn't believe that Chen Guang wasn't afraid. However, Chen Guang was not afraid. What kind of joke was this? What kind of status did the Special Affairs Bureau have? They could even put an end to a murder case. The old man's Guangdong General Headquarters was a substitute for the Special Affairs Bureau. Although it was not as ruthless and overbearing as the Special Affairs Bureau, it was you who was looking for trouble from the beginning to the end. You were the one who stirred up trouble. How could the higher-ups not understand what kind of person you were, Zhuowei? The old man was also the chief instructor of the Shunde Special Training Camp. He had a license. How could the old men not support me? I don't believe that you'll be able to sue me after I've injured you alone. Isn't it just money? Can't I compensate you? Come on. Let's hurt each other. So, Chen Guang did as he wished and reached out to choke him again. Zhuowei was overjoyed. You finally made a move. He moved forward with his belly out, hoping that Chen Guang would punch him in the stomach. That way, it would look like he was beaten badly, but in fact, he wouldn't suffer any injuries. However, Chen Guang didn't do as he wished. Instead, just like how Xian Qin had lifted Zhuo Xiaowei earlier, he used a little force with his right hand and easily lifted Zhuowei, who weighed 100 kilograms up. It was fate that the father and son met today. They were lifted into the air one after the other. Sure enough, father and son were soldiers in battle. At first, Zhuowei was really happy. However, as time went on, the grip on his neck tightened, and he couldn't even breathe properly. Zhuowei's heart skipped a beat. Oh my God, is this guy trying to strangle me to death? Moreover, he also realized something. With his physique and weight, he was actually lifted up by Chen Guang with one hand. Just how much strength did this guy have? He regretted it. He had underestimated his enemy. From the photo, Chen Guang didn't look particularly sturdy, so he thought that he wouldn't be seriously injured. However, based on the current situation, if Chen Guang's fist landed on his face, it seemed like his neck would really snap. Breathing was getting more and more difficult, and his brain was starting to lack oxygen. Zhuowei kicked his legs with all his might, trying to pry Chen Guang's fingers off with his bare hands. However, it was useless. No matter how fat he was, in the face of Chen Guang's invincible Qilin arm, with his strong physique, he was like a chicken caught by an eagle. The reporters had witnessed everything from the start to the end. They saw Zhuowei being lifted up and pretending to struggle. At the same time, the cameras on his body were aimed at Chen Guang in an attempt to capture his ferocious expression. However, Chen Guang had a faint smile on his face the entire time. Then, Zhuowei's fake struggle turned into a real struggle. His face turned from red to white, and then to green. He really couldn't breathe. Let me go. I'm begging you, let me down. Due to the lack of oxygen, his thoughts started to become unclear. His desire to live finally overwhelmed his desire for money, and he gave in. Chen Guang loosened his grip, and Zhuowei fell to the ground. He covered his neck and started to gasp for air. The feeling of escaping from death was very clear, very real. Zhuowei really felt that if he hadn't begged for mercy just now, he might really have died there. He felt that his biggest mistake today was underestimating the craziness and arrogance of this new internet celebrity, Chen Guang. He really shouldn't have personally led the team here. He was so unlucky. Scram! Chen Guang looked down at him and didn't say much. He only spat out those words coldly. Zhuowei, who felt that he had escaped from death, didn't dare stay any longer. He quickly got up and staggered out of the room, knocking over a few chairs as he stumbled. It wasn't until he was out the door that Zhuo Wei suddenly remembered that he still had one of his men sitting on the ground howling. He hurriedly called back two of his men who had rushed out with him. "Hurry and get Gangzi back." After a long struggle, Zhuo Wei and his men came valiantly and energetically, but they ran away like stray dogs. "My friends from the media, I'm sorry to have let you see such a joke." After these people left, Chen Guanzai put on a smile on his face and chuckled at the stunned reporters. "Actually, I'm not usually like this. It's just that this guy is too arrogant, and I really can't contain my anger. I've made a fool of myself in front of everyone. I, Chen Guang, will return the favor tenfold. In the future, please take care of me." Chen Guang was actually saying, "It's not a coincidence that you all saw this today, but you all saw who was the one looking for trouble first. When you go back, don't make things up about me. That way, everyone will be happy." The reporters were all smart people, and their minds were sharp. Although exposing scandals could attract attention, no one dared to turn on the camera. A young man secretly took out his phone, and now his phone had become a pile of scrap metal and was thrown in a corner. Of course, it was Enchanting who had been paying attention to them. Exposing scandals, no matter how real their words were, without pictures or footage, they definitely couldn't compete with the professional 8 weekly magazines. It was not worth it to make enemies with them. After 2 consecutive incidents today, the ordinary reporters also understood Chen Guang's style of doing things. They really didn't want to offend him too much. If he wanted money more than his life, Zhuo Wei was enough. They were the legitimate media, so they didn't want to risk their lives. It was not worth it. That, President Chen, you beat up Zhuo Wei, his son, and his men today. With 8 weekly magazines' usual style of doing things, there might be some trouble. A reporter who was very knowledgeable reminded him. Chen Guang nodded at him. "Thank you for your reminder, but it's fine. The entertainment industry needs a clear stream like us. We can't bow down to evil forces." The people from Tang Jie Foundation couldn't take it anymore. How could someone be so thick-skinned and praise himself as a clear stream? Furthermore, no matter how they looked at it today, they felt that he was the evil one. That's right. Mr. Chen is upright and plain-spoken, and he sticks to his principles. If Zhuo Wei and his 8 weekly magazines really make up stories about you, I'll be the first to object. This reporter was obviously determined to rely on Chen Guang. He thumped his chest to express his stance. If he won the bet, and Chen Guang withstood the pressure from Zhuo Wei and 8 weekly magazines, he could rely on the relationship he had built up today to easily interview people related to Tianguang Talent Management and Chen Guang. However, not everyone was optimistic about Chen Guang and his Tianguang Talent Management. Some of the people in the industry were quite unhappy. "You're the only one who jumped out to take sides. Aren't you making it difficult for us? Thank you for your kindness, but it's fine. I'm not afraid of slanderous accusations. Let him say whatever he wants. All right, today's press conference will end here. Everyone please go back." Chen Guang immediately asked the guests to leave. He also knew that even if that fellow was patting his chest earlier, it would already be benevolent of him if he didn't smear his name in the news. Why would he help him go against 8 weekly? What a joke. No matter what, I really beat someone up today, and I even broke his hand. On the other side, Zhuo Wei and his men ran out of the hotel. They sat in the minibus and looked at each other. "Boss, what should we do now?" one of his men asked anxiously. Thinking of the scene where Gongzi's hand had been forcibly broken, they were really quite scared. F***CK. I can't let it go like this. I, Zhuo Wei, have never suffered such a big loss. It's my miscalculation. I didn't expect him to be so hateful. I didn't prepare well enough before rushing over. Fortunately, I got something useful. Zhuo Wei also touched his neck, which was a little blue. Just now, Chen Guang's hand had strangled his neck too hard. "Boss, I want to go to the hospital," Gongzi said helplessly. His bone had been forcibly broken. Although the pain had been relieved, it was not much better. He was still sweating profusely. "Go to the hospital? Wait for a few minutes. Director Xia of Jiangyuan District will be here soon. Old Xia is my acquaintance. It's better for you to be here. It will be convenient to file a case. This time, if we don't bite a piece of his flesh, my name is not Zhuo Wei. Boss, but my hand hurts. I'm afraid there will be sequelae if we delay for a long time. Gongzi, you have worked hard this time. After this, I will give you a bonus. It's 200,000 yuan. How about it? When he heard that there was a 200,000 yuan bonus, Gongzi gritted his teeth and decided to hold on. Okay. Thank you, boss. Zhuo Wei's plan was not a problem. With Gongzi's injury and his relationship with old Xia of Jiangyuan district, he did not need to say anything. He would first file a case and let Chen Guang know how powerful he was. What era was this? Did he really think that he could do whatever he wanted just because he had a big fist? Even celebrities had to follow the basic rules, okay? After waiting for a while, he saw other colleagues coming down from upstairs and leaving. Zhuo Wei's heart gradually became anxious. Obviously, the press conference was completely over. He looked at his watch and muttered, Old Xia should be here soon. We can't let Chen Guang escape, right? Just as they were talking, 3 police cars arrived with their sirens blaring. Zhuo Wei was overjoyed and quickly got out of the car to greet them. Old Xia, why are you so late? Come with me. This is Gongzi the victim. Look at his broken hand. He is so vicious. Jiangyuan District Branch Chief Xia Yingjie looked at Zhuo Wei angrily. Save it. Do you think I don't know what you have been doing all day? Let me tell you. Let's do business according to the rules. The situation is as it should be. Recently, the limelight has been tight. So don't expect me to do too much for you. Zhuo Wei patted Xia Yingjie's shoulder warmly. Of course I understand. I won't make things difficult for you. He winked at Xia Yingjie, and both of them had a tacit understanding. Xia Yingjie was personally leading the team to handle a small case like Zhuo Wei's. How could he not get any benefits? Xia Yingjie was here to help him bluff others. This was not the first time they had done something like this. Don't pretend to be close to me. Xia Yingjie patted Zhuo Wei's hand off his shoulder. This is a serious case. By the way, your bodyguard's injury is quite serious. How did that person beat him? Who is it? Why is he so ruthless? Zhuo Wei was leading the way in front. He turned back and said, You will see it soon. It is not a big shot. He is just a small celebrity. Celebrity? He is so good at fighting. While Xia Yingjie was talking, Chen Guang and Tang Ying had already come down from the elevator. Behind them was Yu Hong, whose head was bandaged. The bleeding on Yu Hong's head had already stopped. Tang Ying's suturing skills were top-notch, and there seemed to be no more problems. Zhuo Wei pointed from afar and said proudly, There, look. That's him, Chen Guang. Xia Yingjie was stunned for 2 seconds, then he turned around and left. In his heart, he was already cursing Zhuo Wei's 8 generations of ancestors. How unlucky am I to have such an unlucky pig-like teammate like you? You can't cheat people like this. If you had said it was Chen Guang, I would not have come even if you beat me to death. That's right, Xia Yingjie, the chief of the Jiangyuan district branch, had interacted with Chen Guang long ago, and had a deep impression of him. Chen Guang had been brought to the Jiangyuan district branch once for the incident between Su Lijing and Wang Ren. At that time, Chen Guang was charged with 2 major crimes: illegal operation of a taxi booking online, and illegal modification of a vehicle. It sounded like a bluff, but it was actually Su Lijing's doing. However, when Wu Shan and Secretary Ma came to pick him up together, Xia Yingjie was scared out of his wits. When he saw that the situation wasn't looking good, he quickly changed sides and barely escaped. It's been so long, and it wasn't easy for me to earn back my performance. Now you're pulling me in front of him again, and you want me to file a case for him? I'll give you a face. Chapter 611. Zhuo Wei didn't know how powerful Xia Yingjie was, but Xia Yingjie was well aware of it. No matter how much Zhuo Wei wanted to cause trouble, this matter had nothing to do with him. Someone who could make Secretary Ma and Wu Shan join hands to protect him. Even if he had 10 heads, he wouldn't want to provoke him again. Go, go, go. Xia Yingjie took the lead and ran as fast as he could. He desperately waved his hand to signal the people behind him to move faster. The people he brought along were also knowledgeable. Many of them were present last time and knew how powerful Chen Guang was. Needless to say, they couldn't wait to run faster. They hated the fact that they couldn't use a city return scroll on the spot in real life. Zhuo Wei didn't understand what was going on. He was pointing at Chen Guang, planning to bring Xia Yingjie to arrest him. Old Xia, hurry up, they're coming. Old Xia? Where are you, old Xia? Zhuo Wei turned his head and realized that there was no one around him. When he turned back, he realized that Xia Yingjie and the others had already run more than 10 meters away. Zhuo Wei had no idea what was going on. He turned around and chased after Xia Yingjie. Old Xia, what are you doing? Come back. I'm going back to your mother. Xia Yingjie finally stopped sprinting. Instead, he simply lifted his legs and sprinted. Get lost. I don't know you. Idiot. Don't get in the way of official business. We're on patrol. Xia Yingjie ran while panting. He turned his head and said to the people around him, Shaoli, remember to write a report when you get back. Today, I'll personally lead the patrol team to strengthen the public security in the area. Shaoli, who specialized in writing in the police station, had a poor physique. He was panting heavily. All right, Chief Xia. Let's run and patrol on such a hot day. It'll definitely be a good story if it's published. That's for sure. Xia Yingjie ran even faster. He thought to himself, the last time I ran this fast was when I was the leader of the Key Case Investigation Unit more than 10 years ago, right? Sure enough, people were forced to be like this. If he hadn't made this trip today, he wouldn't have known that his heart was still young. How could the big-bellied Zhuo Wei catch up to Xia Yingjie's group? He could only watch helplessly as the reinforcements he had painstakingly gathered disappeared without a trace. His mind was in a complete mess. Zhuo Wei stood in the hotel parking lot, panting, holding his minibus. He tried to call Xia Yingjie, but the voice on the other side was also out of breath. Let me tell you, surnamed Zhuo, I can't take care of this mess of yours. Don't King come looking for me again. What happened, Shirlai? Wasn't Chen Guang just a small-time celebrity? I know he won a case before, but that's because Su Lijing wasn't clean, right? Our case is different. Even if Chen Guang has some background, doesn't he still have to follow the law? Don't talk to me about the law. Alright, that's all I have to say. If you want to listen, then listen. If you don't, then forget it. We've been in the Jianghu for a long time. Farewell. After that, Xia Yingjie hung up. Zhuo Wei called again, and sure enough, he had been blacklisted. Boss, what should we do now? Boss, my hand hurts. It's almost useless. I want to go to the hospital. Gongzi was still howling. Zhuo Wei threw his phone fiercely. CK. I don't believe it. Should we still call the police? No, send Gongzi to the hospital first. I have to think about this at length. The more daring a person is, the more productive he will be. I don't believe that Chen Guang has connections with the heavens. We'll talk about it later. Forget it. Let's go back tonight and see how the situation goes. If there's really someone with connections with the heavens, we'll stop. If there's no movement, we'll go all out. Zhuo Wei was also determined. Jin Shiriyue should know that we've caused such a ruckus. If there's any movement, it can only be the heavenly Jin Shiriyue. If there's no movement, it means that the family isn't satisfied with Chen Guang as Jin Shiriyue's boyfriend. What we're doing might even go along with their wishes. I, Zhuo Wei, have lived my entire life in fear. I'm betting on this. If I win, I'll be successful and famous. If I lose, I'll suffer a crushing defeat. I'm China's #1 paparazzi, Apui, China's #1 entertainment reporter. No one in the entertainment industry dares to treat me like this. I can't take this lying down. Standing in front of the elevator on the 15th floor of the newly constructed Lida Tower in the heart of Wujing CBD, Tang Ying was still a little worried as she asked Chen Guang, Are you sure we don't need to worry about Zhuo Wei? I just asked a good friend of mine about him. They all said that he's very difficult to deal with. If he sets his sights on you, he won't let it go easily. Chen Guang curled his lips nonchalantly. It's fine. Good words mean fame. Bad words mean fame too. If he wants to stir up trouble, I'll just treat it as him helping me create hype. But it's not a good thing he's creating hype, right? What if he really sends people to tail you every day? It'll be quite a headache, won't it? You're not someone to be trifled with. Wu Tong told me before that she caught you and your female classmate at a hotel getting a room together. Tang Ying was very knowledgeable. Chen Guang hurriedly cleared himself. There's nothing going on between me and Sun Xiaoxuan. It was a special situation that day. There's nothing strange going on. I'm not going to take the blame for this. Forget it. Anyway, it's impossible for a company as big as ours to just let a paparazzi smear our reputation. It's completely justified. If he really dares to say something groundless to smear your reputation, we won't just sit and wait for death. See if you're satisfied with the office location. They're almost ready to sign the contract. Originally, I didn't want such a large space, but Xiaokai insisted on making the office a little bigger to make it look more imposing. Tang Ying and Chen Guang followed the marketing manager sent by the Tang Jie Foundation. Actually, this was supposed to be the administrative department's Yu Hong's job, but he had already gone home to rest. Chen Guang walked in and looked left and right. His nose was filled with the smell of the newly renovated office. The spacious hall had already been set up with rows of desks and cubicles. The total area of the office was about 400 square meters. It looked imposing and grand, although it wasn't as impressive as when Chen Guang went to the Tianjin Energy headquarters in Yanjing. For a startup company, this should be impressive enough. Actually, the office location should have been Chen Guang's responsibility, but Tang Xiaokai considered that the old men in Yanjing were urging him to do it quickly. The sooner the better. He even wanted Chen Guang to sit in the office the next day and instruct dozens of people to squander. No, work hard. Therefore, when Tang Xiaokai had decided on this matter yesterday, he had contacted the owner of the Lida building through his friend. The newly built Lida building had already been rented out more than 90% of the time. The only office space left was the 15th floor. Originally, this entire floor was reserved for Tang Xiaokai's friend, but after some discussion, the owner gave him face and rented about 1/5 of the floor to the newly established Tianguang brokerage. As for the remaining 1,600 square meters of office space on this floor, they would probably have to split it up and continue to rent it out. Just for this matter, Tang Xiaokai had done a huge favor by snatching his friend's newly renovated office space and bringing a lot of trouble to the owner of the Lida building. The other party also saw that Tang Xiaokai was doing well in the overseas investment industry and hoped that they could work together in the future. That was why they gave him face. On the other side, Chen Guang didn't reply to Tang Ying. Instead, he continued walking in. The 400 square meter office hall sounded big, but in fact, it didn't take long to reach the end. He pushed open the chairman's office door and walked on the wooden floorboards. He stood in front of the huge floor-to-ceiling glass and looked down. Below him was the spacious 8-lane Wujing South Road. Cars came and went, and there was an endless stream of people by the roadside. How is it? Are you satisfied with the place? Tang Ying's heart ached for the money, but she also felt sorry for her brother. You don't know how many favors Xiaokai has done for this place. Originally, his buddy rented this entire floor. But now that we've split it up, his buddy can't use this place anymore. The problem is that the owner of the Lida building has to rent out the other parts of this floor. I don't know how Xiaokai negotiated with them, but it's quite troublesome. We have to do a good job. It's 130 million. The Tang Jie Fund doesn't just belong to the Tang family. We have to answer to the other shareholders. Chen Guang took a deep breath, turned around, and grabbed her shoulders with both hands. That's right. Sister Tang Ying, let's do a big job. Tang Ying was startled by his sudden passion, and her face turned red. Huh, what? Here. That's not quite. All right. There are still a lot of people outside. Chen Guang was speechless. Looking at her red face, he felt that there was something wrong with her reaction. It was completely different from what he had expected. Wait a minute. From what she said, it seemed like she had gotten the wrong idea. What she was implying was that they could just change the place. OMG, I really misjudged you. I didn't expect you to be like this, Sister Tang Ying. Very good. I like it very much, but now is not the time. Regarding this office, Chen Guang only had 3 words to describe it. Dissatisfied. Extremely dissatisfied. There was no other reason other than 3 words. It was too small. Whether it was the office hall outside, or the chairman's office he was in, or the general manager's office next door, or the deputy general manager's office, they were all too small. Not to mention the employees who were doing their jobs. He had to sneak in close to 40 employees from the Guangdong General Headquarters without anyone noticing. How could a mere 400 square meters of area be enough? The hall could at most fit 80 to 90 tables, and he would have to use his head without anyone noticing. Therefore, this office hall was really too small. To hide 40 people, he would have to increase the size of the entire company to more than 150 people, right? What? A startup company that hasn't even understood the business needs to hire so many people. Isn't that courting death? Going bankrupt at any moment? Stop joking. The old man had $20 million in his pocket, which was $130 million waiting to be spent. Cost control? Sorry, the wind is too strong. I can't hear you clearly. Also, what is this chairman's office? A 5x5 glass cubicle and it's done? It doesn't even have a bedroom, a massage chair, or an indoor golf course. How can I face myself? Who wants an unlucky glass cubicle? The employees outside can look up and see what I'm doing inside. How am I going to fight in my office? How am I going to carry out my work? How am I going to realize the value of my life? This kind of office conditions is completely inconsistent with the prodigal style that the elders have set for me. The old man's office must be at least 100 square meters. It must be an office with echoes when you sing outside. It must be soundproof, and the people outside won't be able to see what I'm doing inside. My desk must be a large curved round gold-rimmed Jinnan wood. After carefully considering the price of the gold-rimmed Jinnan wood, Chen Guang silently changed the material of the desk to mahogany. Such a large piece of gold-rimmed Jinnan wood could probably be used to make a car full of beads. In addition, the lounge behind him must also be 50 square meters. It must have a super large soft bed that can lie 7 or 8 people at the same time. If necessary, it must have an electric massage function. As for the waterbed, forget it, that's too wretched. Then he would hire 17 or 18 young and beautiful secretaries. From then on, the secretaries would do all the work. Chen Guang's mind had completely gone astray. He couldn't help but show a very lascivious smile on his face, which scared Tang Ying, who was being held by his hands on her shoulders. Hey, what are you thinking in your head, you silly guy? Tang Ying blushed. She raised her hand and ruthlessly flicked his head. Chen Guang came back to his senses from the pain. He hurriedly let go of his hand and held his head. I was just blinded by the passion of entrepreneurship. That's not what I meant. Tang Ying glared at him. The blush on her face showed no signs of subsiding. Don't pretend in front of me. Do you think I don't know you? I can even clearly remember how many folds there are on your bad guy. Touch your collar. It's all wet from your saliva. I really don't know what's going on in your head. Count it as my bad luck to meet you. Come with me. Tang Ying came up and pulled on Chen Guang's sleeve. Chen Guang was confused. Where to? Anyway, just to take a look at the office. Now let's find a place with no one around. I'm telling you, I'll only use my hands. You can't tell Lady Tong. Otherwise, don't even think about getting a chance in the future. On the other hand, Tang Ying was open-minded. In the past, she treated Chen Guang as a patient with a weak kidney, and it wasn't the first or second time that she fell into his trap. Although she knew that he wasn't sick, she didn't feel any obstruction in her heart. Thinking back to when she was in school, she and Wu Tong would sneak around at home and watch movies by themselves. Their faces would turn red and their hearts would race. She was actually a little excited. Tang Ying thought to herself, don't laugh at me. I've been single for more than 20 years. Isn't it tough for a beautiful lady like me? The most annoying thing was that based on the current situation, she probably wouldn't be able to get married for the next 8 to 10 years. Her days were long. So what if she had a handsome younger brother to take advantage of him? Sister Ying, we can't leave yet. Chen Guang's heart ached. He didn't expect Tang Ying to be so bold. But now that there was an important matter at the office, he couldn't delay it. If he didn't change his mind, he would have to sign the contract. Why? Are you sick of it? Tang Ying stared at him. Chen Guang quickly shook his head and said loudly, "No, absolutely not. It's just that this office won't do. Let's go find Li Da's boss. I want to rent the entire floor." "What? Are you crazy?" Tang Ying was shocked. "Do you know how much it costs a year to rent an entire floor? I just did the math. It's 4 million. What's wrong? Don't we have 130 million? Chen Guang didn't expect Tang Ying to have such a big objection. It seemed that she was quite thrifty. "But we don't need such a large area. Our company only signed you. We don't have any other artists. We don't even know the direction of our business. Why do we need such a large area? Even if we have money, we can't fool around like this, right?" Tang Ying didn't even accept an office of 400 square meters. It was Tang Xiaokai who insisted on it. Now, she couldn't stand Chen Guang's attitude of renting the entire floor. Their argument in the office attracted the employees of the Tang Jie Foundation. Chen Guang first looked at the managers of Tianguang Brokerage, who had made reservations with blank faces. These people had obviously been abandoned by Tang Xiaokai, and had come with the mentality of a lost future. Chen Guang looked at Tang Ying, who was very anxious and opposed to his squandering. He took a deep breath and his eyes lit up. It was time to show the old man's trick. He didn't need to practice it. He knew it when he was born. All these years, the immoral and incompetent old man had relied on this trick to get to where he was. Chapter 612. Sister Tang Ying. Do you want me to make a career out of the 130 million yuan Xiaokai gave me? Or just sit and eat it away? Chen Guang took a deep breath and said softly, but his tone was very firm. Tang Ying said without hesitation, "This is an investment, of course it has to be profitable. You can't eat away that much money in your lifetime." Chen Guang smiled. "Yes, although I don't know Xiaokai's character very well. I know he's a famous investment guru in Europe and America. Although not every investment can make a big profit, I believe that since he chose to bet so much money on me, and my shares are as high as 50%, it's basically equivalent to him giving me 10 million US dollars. No matter what he says, I believe that as a businessman, no matter what he says, it's all about making money." It was rare for Tang Ying to see Chen Guang so serious, and she was stunned for a moment. Her mind no longer thought about Chen Guang renting the whole floor. She herself did not know much about business. Although she was a genius in the medical field, she specialized in different fields. When it came to investment management, and even business, Tang Ying was a complete layman. This time, she had forced herself to do it and forced herself to do it. Now, after being fooled by Chen Guang, Tang Ying suddenly saw the light. Yes, it was her first impression. With my brother's intelligence, why would he do something like that just for my sake? And this is not a small amount. He must have his own considerations. Otherwise he wouldn't be able to convince himself and the other investors. Could it be that I'm too conservative and underestimated the power of the internet celebrity economy? Is Chen Guang really worth that much money? With his current fame, could he really make a name for himself on the platform of Tianguang Brokerage, which Xiaokai had built for him with 130 million yuan? Once Tang Ying began to doubt herself, Chen Guang's next trick would be easy. Striking while the iron was hot, Chen Guang immediately added, "Yes, Sister Tang Ying, it's just as you imagined. The me today is no longer the me of the past. The person standing in front of you right now is the super internet celebrity, who is almost at the top of the domestic internet celebrity circle. Brother Almighty, I have more than 13 million fans on Weibo, and any random post on Weibo would get more than 100,000 shares and comments. I've reached 3 million subscribers on Bamboo Live, and the number of online viewers will quickly exceed 1 million at any time. I know it's pretty impressive, but I don't think it's worth much. Don't some celebrities have tens of millions of fans?" Tang Ying was still confused. Chen Guang counted with his fingers. "Let me put it this way. I don't seem to have as many fans as other celebrities, but you have to know that I've never made a zombie fan before. All of my fans have slowly grown through my activities. They're real people. And it's the same for the subscribers in my live broadcast room. Take our Dachuan province's Dachuan satellite TV station as an example. They usually broadcast a trump card program with high ratings, And if they can achieve a rating of 2.0%, they'd be thanking the gods. What does a rating of 2.0% mean? At most, it's just a few million viewers. But my live broadcast room has more than 1 million viewers when it starts broadcasting. If I post something on Weibo, even if it's I ate 3 buns this morning, at least millions of people will see these 3 buns when they're scrolling through Weibo. In addition, the loyalty of my audience and fans is far higher than that of a TV station like Dachwon Satellite TV. The influence of my brother Allrounder's identity as an internet celebrity is actually not that far off from a provincial TV station. Now, do you still think that the internet celebrity economy is really a bubble? Tang Ying felt that there was something wrong with what he said, but she couldn't put her finger on it. But, no buts. Currently, the entire world of live broadcasting and internet celebrities may be a little impetuous, or maybe there's a lot of hype involved, but I'm different. First of all of my data is real. Second, my fans aren't created by hype, but by my own ability. I've attracted them one by one. Other people may be bubbles that burst with a poke, but I'm an internet celebrity. I really can't burst it. In other words, you're really worth 130 million? If you really want to compare yourself to a TV station. Tang Ying was completely shaken. Chen Guang nodded heavily. Of course. Let me tell you one more thing. You know about the competition I organized 2 days ago, right? I know. Do you know how many viewers there are in the finals? How many? The peak is 25 million, and the average is 23 million. That's equivalent to 1/30th of the Olympic Games, 1/20th of the World Cup, 7/8 of the European Championship, and 3/4 of the Champions League. Take the World Cup for example. Just the broadcasting fees alone can reach $1 or $2 billion, and that doesn't include advertising revenue. Even if the audience's loyalty for this competition isn't as high as the World Cup, if we convert the revenue from US dollars to RMB, it wouldn't be too much to earn 100 million after the competition, right? Tang Ying counted on her fingers. It really isn't too much. Chen Guang's expression turned serious. Then do you know how much I've earned this time? The entire competition was organized in a hurry, and the promotions, advertisements, and whatnot weren't done properly. The broadcasting authorization was even more arbitrary, and everything was decided on a whim. But I still earned this much, 48 million renminbi. Tang Ying's eyes widened. She had known Chen Guang for so long, but this was the first time she had heard him talk so eloquently about business. In the past, he didn't like to brag, and Tang Ying had always treated him like a child. However, after hearing his simple calculation, Tang Ying felt that Xiao Kai had not wasted his money by signing him to Tianguang brokerage at the price of $20 million. Instead, he had gotten a great deal. So, don't worry about our company not being able to make it big. It's just that I haven't taken on many advertisements. If we really want to take on a large number of advertisements, I'll learn from that Xue Ziqian. Yes, that's him. I'll learn from him and write jokes and advertise on Weibo every day. Our company won't suffer any losses. So, not only will Tianguang brokerage not collapse, but it will also grow bigger and bigger. We have to look to the future, and this Lida building is located in the center of the city. It's a good location. Today, we'll save 2 to 3 million a year, and only rent 400 square meters. In 2 years, when the company grows bigger and bigger, there won't be enough space. We'll either have to go through a lot of trouble to move, or we'll have to think of ways to wrangle with those companies renting the same floor as us. Isn't that troublesome? Moreover, the boss of Lida building is giving us face, so we might as well take the entire floor. Isn't this saving him some trouble? You won't have to look for a new place to rent. Tang Ying was completely convinced by Chen Guang. What you said makes sense. Needless to say, Chen Guang's rambling not only attracted Tang Ying, but also the other managers of Tianguang brokerage, who had been waiting at the door, were all fired up. Looking at the fanatical and excited eyes of these people, Chen Guang also felt a sense of accomplishment. The old man's divine art of deception had not regressed at all. He was thankful for the years he spent as a sage in the Sea of Transient. Actually, the throne challenge was not that easy. It was too much of a coincidence that it became popular. If he were to do it all over again, he might not have the confidence to make it to such a big scale. Other than that, he was able to earn 48 million because little Tsong was generous. Not only did he not earn a single cent, but he also paid 20 million to Chen Guang. If he were to get a less generous partner, Chen Guang would immediately lose 20 million of his 48 million, and then split it in half, leaving him with only a little more than 10 million. Then let's go find the boss of Lida Building now, and settle the matter quickly. Tang Ying immediately clapped her hands and made up her mind. Actually, she did not want to work here anymore. She kind of wanted to drop everything here and go back to the hospital in peace. After all, she was now an official department head and the person in charge of the inpatient department's emergency department. She had only taken a day off today, but the hospital had already piled up a lot of work. She felt that Chen Guang was simply a genius. He did not need her to manage him at all. Her presence here was completely counterproductive. But in the end, she still could not bear to completely drop everything. Wu Tong's request became her reason to convince herself. I have to help Lady Tong keep an eye on him. This guy was so wretched when he was letting his imagination run wild just now. If I really don't do anything, with his self-restraint, he will definitely have dozens of beauties displayed in the company. That's right, keeping an eye on him is my Tang Ying's mission. In less than half an hour, the 5-year contract was signed, and a whole year's worth of rent was paid. The 15th floor of the Lida Building, located in the second section of Renan Road, belonged to Tianguang Brokerage. There was still work to be done today. The company still had to hire people, and the office had to be rearranged. But Tang Ying did not care about these things. She rushed back to the hospital happily. On the way, she called Tang Xiaokai. Across the ocean, Tang Xiaokai heard Tang Ying repeat the words that Chen Guang had just tricked her with a smile. Little brother, let me tell you, Chen Guang really can't be judged by his appearance, and the sea can't be measured with a pail. I admit that I have underestimated him before. I think we have made a big profit this time. Yes, sister, you have worked hard. At this time, it was past 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Wujing. Tang Xiaokai was in the United States at 2 o'clock in the morning. He was sleeping soundly when he called Tang Ying. His whole body was drowsy, but he did not dare to lose his temper with Tang Ying. He could only deal with it bitterly. If it was someone else calling him at this time, he would have already started scolding. We have rented the entire floor of Lida Building. There are no other floors. Otherwise, I would have taken the entire 14th to 46th floor. Tang Xiaokai's drowsiness was reduced by half. Also, I feel that you only invested $20 million for 50% of the shares. Isn't it too disadvantageous for him? Think about it, he alone is worth Dachuan satellite TV. Why don't you add another $20 million? Tang Xiaokai was completely awake. Chapter 613. Tang Xiaokai's hand was trembling as he held onto his phone. Sis, are you really going there to look at our assets and not to help Chen Guang squander? You've been tricked by him. Why didn't I realize in the past that the honest and kind bro Chen Guang is actually so black-bellied deep down? Sis, that's not how things are done. He's quite famous now, and his Weibo is quite popular too. But how can he be compared to a satellite TV station? The content production is on a completely different level, alright? Furthermore, other TV stations can use the SARFT network to broadcast their programs 24/7. How many advertisements can they broadcast every day? How many programs can they get? How many staff members do they have? How much equipment and fixed assets do they have? Although he says they have the same influence, the two are on a completely different level, alright? Most importantly, this is a task given to him by the higher-ups. To put it bluntly, his money is really for Chen Guang to squander. Do you really think he can make a name for himself? Just based on the phone call he tricked you into today, I think Tianguang manager will be dead within half a year. Tang Xiaokai is not like Tang Ying. The two of them are polar opposites. He is not a hothead in the business world. All these years, Tang Xiaokai has been involved in investments. What industry has he not been involved in? What industry has he not been familiar with? There are internet celebrities in China, And there are also internet celebrities in the US. His heart was as clear as snow. But he couldn't tell Tang Ying about this kind of worldly knowledge, because it would involve another layer of confidential information. He could only laugh it off. Don't worry. If it really produces some results, I'll just increase my investment. But you can't dilute his shares. I know that. Sis, whose side are you on? Are you really my sister? Am I a gift from mom and dad for topping up their phones? Are you the only biological son? Tang Xiaokai is furious. Tang Ying also knew that she had gone overboard by siding with an outsider, so she chuckled. I'm just kidding. Anyway, listen carefully. You better open your eyes and see how your sister, your vice president, is doing. I can set up a media conglomerate for you at any time. I'll crush that stupid angel investor of yours. Alright, you better hurry to the hospital. Be careful on the road. Tang Xiaokai yawned. After the siblings hang up, Tang Xiaokai got up and gulped down 2 glasses of water before he calmed down. He touched his chest, feeling a throbbing pain. On the other hand, Chen Guang originally intended to recruit a large number of people today, but in the end, Yu Hong lost too much blood and fell asleep at home. On the other hand, the people from Beijing only arrived at night. Thus, Chen Guang slapped his thigh and decided not to recruit anyone today. Decorate the entire floor, all the offices, everything that needs to be decorated. I don't want this chairman's office. Change it to this one. Do you see it? I want this big office with 3 entrances and 3 exits. Get me a renovation company. I want European style, no Chinese style. Get me a screen here, and a portrait of a lady bathing here. All the furniture in the chairman's office, get me mahogany. Make it as grand as possible. Partition my resting room. I want a big bathroom. Get me a bathtub too. Put a statue of Yu Lian beside the bathtub. That's right. His penis must be able to release water. I don't want plaster. I want marble. The bed must be big, soft, and made of real leather. Enchanting. Why are you looking at me like that? I have a reason for doing this. The most important thing in our company is my creativity. How does my creativity come about? It must be in the most comfortable environment. Only then can I be inspired. Only then can I come up with better ideas. Only then can I come up with better performances that can attract the fans. This is not called squandering. This is called investment. Do you understand? Investing in one's artistic cells and improving one's creativity is the most valuable investment. In the past, Chen Guang had always looked down on those nouveau riches. He felt that they were very old-fashioned and vulgar. Only today did he understand why he looked down on others. It was because he was jealous. He was jealous that others could spend money like that. That was why he believed in the theory of hard work and plain living. When he had the opportunity to spend other people's money so lavishly, he realized how scary a person's potential was. The old man was afraid of himself when he started squandering. He even thought that if he took a picture of himself now, he could seamlessly blend it into the movie Big Shot. There was only one principle when it came to spending money. Don't ask for the best. Just ask for the most expensive. He was stingy when it came to things that made him unhappy. For example, even if Zhuo Wei risked his life, he wouldn't be able to get a single cent from him. But when it came to things that made him want to spend money, he would not be stingy. After all, it was not his own money. Just as Chen Guang was busy squandering, in another office building in Wujing, there was also a large group of people revolving around him. Zhuo Wei, who was famous in Huaxia's gossip circle, was instructing his subordinates to write jokes, organize videos, and organize screenshots. He just had to wait for a few more hours. Once the news from Yanjing came back, Zhuo Wei would risk his life and have a life-and-death struggle with Chen Guang, who had just established Tianguang Agency. In the Li De gang, Chen Guang was so busy that he had dinner with the 7 or 8 employees in the company. Only then did he drive back to Wenqing town leisurely. I feel like I've had a very fulfilling day, Chen Guang said to Enchanting as he whistled. His left and right hand were playing a song on the car's stereo. Enchanting crossed her arms. Her current identity was Chen Guang's personal assistant. She didn't help much today. After the press conference, she sat in a corner and played with her phone. There's a car following us. Suddenly Enchanting said. Chen Guang glanced at the car from the corner of his eye. Indeed, he saw a Golf GTI following them sneakily in the rearview mirror. After waiting for another 7 or 8 minutes, the Golf was still following them. It was obvious that the paparazzi were not running away. Don't follow too closely. If he discovers us, we'll be in trouble. He and his bodyguards are very good. Brother, I have to follow him closely. I've seen his Weibo before. This guy is a god of racing, a god. If he gets excited and wants to step on the accelerator, we'll have to eat the dust. T. How can he run with a broken Passat? Yours is a 2.0 T GDI. His is a business sedan. You two are not on the same level. That's true. While the two people in the Golf GDI were chatting, Chen Guang had already stepped on the accelerator. About 17 or 18 seconds later, the two people in the GDI completely lost sight of Chen Guang. After turning a corner, there was another fork in front of them. They had no idea where Chen Guang had gone. His Passat is a little fast. It is a little fast. What if we lose him now? I don't know. Go back and ask the boss. In the phaeton, Chen Guang curled his lips in disdain. Are you kidding me? 2 small fries want to follow my car? Looking at his proud look, Enchanting couldn't help but say. About 11 or 12 years ago, there was a star who was also followed by paparazzi. He wanted to race away, but he died in an accident. There was such a thing. Well, when you were messing around there today, I saw it on the internet. It seemed to be a very famous female singer. I also found something interesting. What? Can we finish talking in one breath? Can we not take so much time? The reporter who chased after the car was Zhuo Wei, who you met today. However, he hadn't started a weekly magazine back then. He was just a slightly famous freelance reporter, or paparazzi. So you mean that nothing happened to Zhuo Wei after the female singer died? Instead he became famous? Then his business got bigger and bigger. Now he even started a magazine? Chen Guang's eyes widened in disbelief. Enchanting nodded. You're right. Chen Guang was silent for a long time before saying, after all, legally speaking, he doesn't seem to have any responsibility. So even if he's being scolded by thousands of people, it's useless. The more people scold him, the more famous he becomes. In the past, I also thought that martial artists like Poison Sect and Dark Sect were the most despicable. They were cold-blooded and heartless. But now it seems like ordinary people aren't much better. The difference between the two is that martial artists are more direct. They'll draw their swords at the slightest disagreement. Zhuo Wei, on the other hand, became even more vicious after he made a fortune from the dead. Enchanting said. Chen Guang really did not expect Enchanting, a little girl who usually looked like a little girl, to say something like that. Why don't I go and kill him? My hands are getting itchy, Enchanting suddenly said. Chen Guang stepped on the brakes and stopped by the roadside. He turned to look at her. Are you serious? Enchanting nodded. I'm serious. But I don't agree. Why? The reason why we want to replace the Special Affairs Bureau with our Guangdong General Bureau, and the reason why I want to deal with Poison Sect and Dark Sect with Wenwen, is because I'm sick of the situation where martial artists are above ordinary people. So we can't become like that. Enchanting tilted her head and looked at Chen Guang, her big eyes sparkling. Chen Guang patted her head. That's right, especially you, because you're my deputy director. Even if someone wants to kill Zhuo Wei, only I can do it. Do you understand? Enchanting vaguely understood, but she did not really understand it. However, she was willing to listen to what Chen Guang had to say. After returning home, Chen Guang scrolled through Weibo in boredom. He first posted the official press release sent by Tianguang Agency's staff, and used his Weibo account to announce the establishment of his company. After that, he interacted with his fans in the comments section and chatted about random things. The fans in the comments section had their own opinions on the establishment of his company. There were two sides to their views. Some people were cheering and saying that Brother Allrounder had finally made it to the next level. From an unorthodox internet celebrity who fought alone, he now had a team of his own. In the future, he would definitely be able to produce better videos or achieve better results. However, There were also some fans or haters who pretended to be fans. They criticized Brother Allrounder on Weibo, saying that he was no longer pure and had become a cliché. He only thought about making money when he started a company. If it were in the past, Chen Guang would definitely have a good argument with these haters. However, now that he had experienced a lot, he was used to it. There were too many comments on Weibo, and he really could not manage them all. As long as the old man was happy, it was fine. Of course, he only replied to the real fans' comments. If they were really bad, he would directly and permanently ban them. Suddenly, at around 9 o'clock at night, a bunch of new comments appeared. Chen Guang's pupil shrank. Zhou Wei really could not hold it in. This was a sudden, organized, premeditated, and all-out attack on him. Chen Guang leaned back in his chair. This grandson is really daring. I'm going to kill them now. He's slandering you without any foundation. This is too much. Enchanting slammed the table and stood up abruptly. Chen Guang did not stop her. He just sat in his chair and stared at her. It was enough to persuade her once. If she wanted to go, it was her own decision. He could not stop her. Enchanting had always thought of herself as a strong-willed person. After all, in the Thousand Despair sect, she had always been the grand senior sister who was second only to her master. However, after looking at him for a while, she felt a little diffident and did not dare to look into his eyes. She did not know what was wrong with her. Why should she be afraid of him? He can't beat me at all. But in the end, she still sat down feeling wronged. I won't go. Don't look at me like that. I'm scared. Chen Guang walked up to her. That's right. That's a good girl. Don't worry. What's fake can't be real. His scandals may seem impressive, but they can't stand up to scrutiny. I won't just sit back and do nothing. But at this point, he can do whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. Just like I said, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. The more he slanders now, the more obvious the positive effect will be when we refute his scandals one by one. If you don't slap my butt, your image will be even more impressive. Oh my, that's strange. Little Enchanting, there seems to be a magnet on your butt. My hand is being sucked in. I can't control it at all. Although he did not seem to care, it only lasted for a short while. After many people read the news, the style of the comments under Chen Guang's Weibo changed. The diehard fans who had been following him were not so easily affected, but the average fans, or those who were in between passers-by and fans, were shaken. They began to post questions on Weibo, asking others if it was true. Once they started asking questions, it meant that they already believed it. There were also some haters who did not like Chen Guang to begin with. At this moment, they went wild and shared all kinds of comments. The two sides were arguing fiercely under his Weibo. I didn't expect Brother Allrounder to be such a person. Fan turned to Road. Road turned to Anti-Fan. Anti-Fan. I can't turn anymore. Anyway, I told you guys long ago that this person is unreliable. He relies on hype and women. I really don't know what you guys are thinking. How can a fan of him be as good as he makes himself out to be? Upstairs, calm down. Listen to me. Don't get agitated. Shout with me. Trash Allrounder, give me back my goddess. Give me back my youth. Today was really a wild day. The newly established Tianguang agency had no way to fight back. It was not that they did not have the money to do these things, but they did not have the manpower. The most reliable person, Yu Hong, was still recuperating at home. However, it was estimated that he would get a call soon. But Chen Guang couldn't possibly let Yu Hong take care of this matter after losing so much blood today. After all, Zhuo Wei's little trick wasn't enough to make Chen Guang's sky collapse, so there was no need for Yu Hong to risk his life. After a while, the phone calls came in one after another. First was Tang Ying. Chen Guang spent about 30 seconds to calm her down. His exact words were as follows. Every single point that they defame me. I'm not afraid of the shadow. Don't panic. Wait for them to make a fuss. Then we'll slowly deal with them one by one. Then Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage called together. They asked him if he wanted them to use their influence to help him clarify the matter. Chen Guang also told them not to act rashly. At this time, If the two of them clarified the matter first, it would only make them look like they were hiding something. Wu Tong did not dare to ask too much. Presumably, Chen Guang's words had already been conveyed to her through Tang Ying. His little sister Fan Lingshan, who had not seen him for a long time, wanted to rush back from school. She was worried that the online scandals would make Chen Guang angry, so she wanted to be by his side when he was down. In the end, Chen Guang casually told his little sister not to worry and to stay at school to study. A senior student should act like a senior student. Moreover, he was restudying after throwing away his studies for a year. Even if the sky fell, he would be able to support it. Don't worry for nothing. Lu Fei also called and asked Chen Guang if he needed her to ask the public relations team of Lu Chemical for help. However, Chen Guang rejected her suggestion. This was his own matter. Lu Fei wanted to help out, but there was really no need to pull her family's company's team out. Besides, Lu Chemical was good at public relations, such as pollution, and not entertainment news. It didn't seem very professional. The conversation between the two was as follows. Listen to me. Our Lu Chemical's public relations is really super strong. Black can also be turned into white. Stinky gutters can be blown into pure water. Your little thing can be done in minutes. Don't worry, let me try first. I owe you too much, and it's not easy to pay back your family. Wait, what did you just say? Stinky gutters can be blown into pure water? This kind of words in front of me, who is studying environmental protection, and is determined to live a good life. Are you really a man? Bah. You can be smug. Goodbye. If you really can't handle it, remember to call me. Lu Fei slammed down the phone. When Chen Guang finally finished the phone call and settled down, it was about 10 o'clock. The quarrel under his Weibo had not stopped. The basket of scandals thrown out by Zhuo Wei and his 8 weekly was still fermenting and continuing to erupt. Under Weibo, more and more people turned to hate, and even many fans who unfollowed him appeared. Chen Guang snorted disdainfully at those foolish people who were easily deceived. In fact, there were already technical geek fans who helped to explain and clarify on his Weibo. But under the attack of the internet water army, and some real haters, these technical geek fans' defense and evidence were a little weak and powerless. No matter what they said, it would be quickly suppressed by the haters and water army. Enchanting was more distressed than Chen Guang himself. Now her National Darts League was tied to Chen Guang, and Chen Guang's reputation was damaged, which would inevitably lead to the decline of the influence of the National Darts League. She was also anxious. With a depressed mood, Enchanting walked to the window and looked up at the sky, feeling quite helpless. Suddenly, her eyes flashed, and then she sat back in the chair quietly, turned to Chen Guang and said, "Someone in the opposite building is taking pictures of us. It should be with a high-powered telescope." F***CK, Zhuo is a professional. He found our place so quickly. Chen Guang finally had a new understanding of Zhuo Wei's efficiency. Sure enough, hearing about him was not as good as meeting him in person. The title of China's #1 paparazzi was not for nothing. He's a little bold. He even took pictures of my house. Chen Guang narrowed his eyes again. Recently, he had read a lot of novels, and it was said that powerful people would squint their eyes when they were angry. He heard that there was a mysterious domineering aura. He tried it a few times today, and the effect was good. What do we do now? Enchanting asked. Chen Guang squeezed a smile on his face and stretched. We've been busy all day. Let's go out for some barbecue. Enchanting understood and said, I kind of want to eat meat. They changed their shoes, opened the door, and went downstairs. Brother Huang, I'm not bragging, but in this generation of Wen Xingzhen, ever since Scarface and Glasses Wu fell, I, Brother Blackface, have the final say. Who is the person you guys are watching? Why are you acting so mysterious? In the room, a burly dark-faced man wearing a black singlet was sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed. He was happily gnawing on a chicken drumstick in his hand. This person, whom he addressed as Brother Huang, was Zhuo Wei's right-hand man. Within 8 weekly, he was known as Mad Dog Huang. Mad Dog Huang had a few strengths. He could fight, squat, slap, and run when he was discovered. If he could not run, he would turn back and fight. Ordinary bodyguards were no match for him. In recent years, Zhuowei rarely went out personally, and Mad Dog Huang was one of the most troublesome paparazzi in the industry. Other than Mad Dog Huang and Brother Blackface, there were another 11 or 12 people in the room. 2 of them were employees of 8 Weekly, and the remaining 9 were Wenxingzhen's local tyrants. Recently, Wenxing Town's Deputy Commissioner Wu Tong, who was especially tough, had been transferred away. The hooligans in the town had gradually emerged in the limelight again. Blackface Bro was one of the best, and he had the momentum to surpass Scarface Bro. This time, Mad Dog Huang came to secretly take pictures. He knew that Chen Guang was powerful, and to be on the safe side, he specially invited Brother Blackface over. He said he wanted to chat and reminisce, but in fact he was afraid that if something went wrong, he would be more confident with more people on his side, although it might not be of much use. Chapter 6:15. Blackface, these little brothers of yours seem to be quite good at fighting. Mad Dog Huang stepped back from the binoculars. Chen Guang and Enchanting had already left the house. He knew lip reading, and from Chen Guang's lips, he knew that he was going for a barbecue. Since Chen Guang would not be back for a while, Mad Dog Huang did not continue to watch. Brother Blackface flicked the bone in his hand, and it flew straight into the trash bin 2 meters away. He was a good citizen who cared about hygiene. Brother Huang, it's not that I'm bragging, but everyone in our group is good at fighting. With our status in town, who would dare to disrespect us? Status in the Jiang who is fought for with one's fists, not with one's mouth. That's good. As long as you can fight. When I'm done with these few days, I'll give Brother Blackface a 30,000 yuan red packet for you guys to buy cigarettes. Brother Blackface grinned. Brother Huang, you're a good friend. It's my pleasure. The 8 Weekly employee who was in charge of the internet came over. Boss, the internet here doesn't seem to be very good. The video just now won't be uploaded anytime soon. Mad Dog Huang waved his hand nonchalantly. It's fine. Let's film first. You can drive it back to the company when it's done. He sat down and fiddled with the equipment. Looking at the footage, Mad Dog Huang slapped his thigh and said, Damn, this Chen guy is so lucky. He's surrounded by beautiful women. Let's not talk about his celebrity girlfriend. Even the vice president of Tingguang Company, that our boss took a picture of today, is also very beautiful. That little girl is also so pink and tender. Why does she follow him all the time? It's really infuriating to compare with others. He saw Chen Guang intentionally or unintentionally slapping Enchanting's butt, and he was extremely jealous. Rich people know how to have fun, but even rich people are afraid of you. Oh right, Brother Huang, what was the name of the person who filmed today? Chen. Brother Blackface grabbed another piece of fried chicken and chewed on it. Mad Dog Huang did not answer him directly. It's nothing, just a small celebrity. I'm doing some business with him. Let's not talk about him. It makes me angry. Come, let's drink. Brother Blackface saw that Mad Dog Huang did not want to talk about it, so he did not press him further. After all, he had brought his brothers here to do some small business and earn some easy money. About 10 minutes later, there was a knock on the door of the room they rented. Brother Blackface frowned and looked at the time on his phone. That's weird, it's already 10:30 p.m. Who is it? Mad Dog Huang, on the other hand, was much more nervous than Brother Blackface. He stood up abruptly, a bad feeling rising in his heart, but he also felt that it was impossible. The distance between the 2 buildings was 300 meters. The binoculars on his side were also hidden under the curtains, revealing only a small black cannon barrel. There was no video on the internet, and the 2 of them only glanced at the window when they came back. It was impossible for them to be discovered so quickly. Little did he know that as a disciple of the Thousand Extremities sect, Enchanting's specialty was hidden weapons and darts. Her eyesight was what she practiced. To others, this distance might seem like a fairy tale, but to Enchanting, it was nothing out of the ordinary. Brother Blackface did not know that danger was approaching. Seeing that Mad Dog Huang did not move, he signaled one of his men to go and see who it was. Who is it? The underling was half naked and didn't rush to open the door. Instead, he stood at the door and asked, Open the door, it's a delivery man. Chen Guang answered in a muffled voice outside the door. Are you crazy? Delivering your mother's delivery in the middle of the night? The man was a hot-tempered man. He did not think too much about it, thinking that it was someone causing trouble. He raised his hand and opened the door, ready to beat the person up. Before he could finish, Chen Guang grabbed him by the neck and threw him into the room. He flew 3 to 4 meters and landed on the edge of the sofa, causing Brother Blackface to stumble. Brother Blackface did not know what was going on. He slammed the coffee table and stood up. Who's looking for death? In the next second, his expression changed. He recognized Chen Guang. Although Chen Guang rarely interacted with the gangsters in Wenxing Town, Chen Guang was a legend in Wenxing Town. Not to mention his relationship with the violent policewoman, the terrifying beauty, who was always with him, was the one that the gangsters in Wenxing Town feared the most. Whoever dared to provoke her would be beaten up. Wenwen's domineering reputation had long spread throughout the town through the sweeping in front of the internet cafe. In this town, it was acceptable to offend anyone, even the police. However, no matter who it was, they could not afford to offend that beautiful girl. Otherwise, no one would be able to save them. Along with that, Chen Guang was also included in the list of people who could not be provoked. Recently, Chen Guang was quite famous in Wenxing Town. How could Brother Blackface not know him? Oh my God! Brother Huang, you told me earlier that you were going to keep an eye on him. Am I not a ghost? Brother Blackface took a few steps back. His heart felt as if it had been stabbed by a knife. Mad Dog Huang was angry. You look like a bear, and you still have a place in the underworld? My underworld, my ass. King admitted it the moment we met. At least let me think about how to fool you in my mind. Now that you admitted it directly, what should I do? Enchanting did not rush to follow, but blocked the door, as if she wanted to play the role of blocking the door. Chen Guang walked inside. Yo, friends from Octave magazine are quite dedicated. You don't sleep in the middle of the night, but come here to take pictures of me. Are you happy? Mad Dog Huang's eyes turned around. He took out his weapon from his back and touched the dagger behind him. He was also angry. He heard that Chen Guang broke Gangzi's forearm with his bare hands. If Chen Guang wanted to kill him, he might die here if he didn't think of a way to save his life. I'm called Mad Dog Huang in the underworld. Don't force me. Mr. Chen, this is a misunderstanding. I'm not from Octave magazine. I'm just an astronomy enthusiast. Mad Dog Huang lied with his eyes wide open, while desperately gesturing to the staff of Octave magazine behind him. The people behind him understood and planned to delete the video. Misunderstanding? Come on, take out the dagger behind you and show me. I want to see how deep your misunderstanding is. As Chen Guang said this, he leaned down slightly. His left hand seemed to grasp one of the legs of the tempered glass coffee table, and then he lifted the coffee table with one hand. This coffee table weighed at least 70 or 80 pounds. His action really made Brother Blackface and Mad Dog Huang's eyelids twitch. Brother Blackface wanted to cry. Didn't they say that the girl next to him was very good at fighting? How come he didn't seem to be much worse? I'll King kill you. From the beginning to the end, Chen Guang didn't show the slightest bit of kindness. Mad Dog Huang finally lost control. His mind went crazy, and he pulled out his dagger. Brother Blackface, why the CK are you still standing there? He has already seen us. Do you think he wants to keep the peace? You're brave, but it's useless. Chen Guang raised his hand and swung the huge glass coffee table half a circle in the air, then smashed it down on Mad Dog Huang's head. From the moment Chen Guang entered the room to the dozen or so people in the room, all lying on the ground, it took less than 2 minutes. Mad Dog Huang, who annoyed celebrities but was helpless, was lying on the ground. His head was bleeding, and he was basically a dead dog. Fortunately, Chen Guang had a sense of propriety. Otherwise, he would have died countless times with the coffee table. Looking at the scene of him patting Enchanting, but in the living room, Chen Guang's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. The other party didn't have time to delete it. He grabbed Mad Dog Huang and placed his head in front of the computer. Tell me, did you send it out? Mad Dog Yellow was so frightened by his cold look that its legs trembled. No, no. Really? You have to think carefully. If I see the video outside, it's useless for me to let you go today. You'll really die later. It's not hard to find a fugitive to take your life for 10 million. You're not young anymore. You should have a family. Although it's good to earn money, you need to be alive to spend it, right? As Chun Guang spoke, he took out all the electronic devices on them and crushed them in his hands. Mad Dog Huang shook his head like a rattle drum. I really didn't. I swear. Well, consider yourself lucky. After pounding him on the ground, Chun Guang called Wang Long at the Wenxing town branch. Now that Wu Tong had been transferred, Chun Guang only knew Wang Long at the Wenxing town branch. Coincidentally, it was Wang Long, the newly promoted captain, who was on night shift today. Within 10 minutes, Wang Long rushed over with a group of people, huffing and puffing. My goodness, are you helping people to tear down their house? Wang Long was shocked by the messy scene in the living room when he entered. He saw Brother Blackface and his men curled up in the corner with only their underwear left. Yo, Brother Blackface, why are you here too? What a coincidence. Brother Blackface looked like he was about to cry. Captain Wang, it's a bit of a coincidence. Brother Wang, this group of people gathered here to take pictures of me. When I came to reason with them, they even threatened me. They almost beat me to death. You have to redress my grievances. Chun Guang pulled Wang Long to redress his grievances. A group of people stared at him with wide eyes. Even Wang Long could not stand his shamelessness. F***ck. It was clearly these people on the ground who were beaten to the point of being unable to take care of themselves. You are so thick-skinned. Your ability to lie with your eyes open is something I can never learn even in 8 lifetimes. Mad Dog Huang and Brother Blackface wanted to cry but had no tears. Brother, where did you learn this ability to make false accusations? Does your master still accept disciples? I feel like I can use it for the rest of my life if I learn some bits and pieces. Yes, detention all of you. Brother Blackface has received a lot of complaints recently. It's time to deal with him. Kid, just blame it on your bad luck. Didn't Scarface and Glasses Wu fall into the hands of Chun Guang? You guys are not the first batch. I really hope you guys are the last. After a while, this group of people was taken away by Wang Long. Wang Long said that he would detain them. Secretly taking pictures of private matters was against the law. Wang Long patted his chest and promised. Anyway, it was within the terms of the contract. He would definitely not give them a light sentence. What? Xiao Huang has been arrested? Administrative detention for a month? Does it have to be so serious? Xiao Huang is quite reliable. It hasn't even been 2 hours. What the hell happened? In the headquarters of 8 Weekly, Zhuo Wei, who was waiting for Mad Dog Huang's good news, did not get it. Instead, he got bad news. Chapter 616. Boss, I don't know either. I heard from Brother Huang and the lawyer that he was filming in his room when Chun Guang came knocking on his door out of nowhere. He was almost beaten to death. Damn it. What the hell? Zhuo Wei slammed the phone. He was furious. He had finally heard from the higher-ups in Beijing that they had no intention of getting involved in this matter. He had sent out his top men immediately, but they had failed miserably. Boss, are we still going to continue? His confidant came up to him and asked cautiously. Zhuo Wei glared at him. Nonsense. We have already suffered such a huge loss. Xiao Huang is also involved. How can we stop? When I suffer a double loss, how am I going to survive in the entertainment industry in the future? What will others think of me? Will I still be working for the weekly magazine? F***ck. Continue to write for me. Continue to gather information for me. I will look for Boss Lu to bail him out. I don't believe that Chun Guang can be more powerful than me. He has only been in the 5 capitals for a few years. On the other hand, Chun Guang was also puzzled about something. A few days ago, when he organized the King's Challenge, Jin Shiyue had told him that the elders wanted him to do something big. That was how Tang Xiaokai came to invest in Tianguang Brokerage. Now that the company was on the rise, Zhuo Wei's reputation had been tarnished beyond recognition. Although the incident happened at 9 p.m., and the elders were probably asleep by now, It had already been more than 2 hours. With the importance the elders placed on this matter, they should have heard about it by now, right? It couldn't be that all the elders had gone to bed, right? Especially old Master Jean. Why hadn't he done anything yet? Since Jean Shirua had asked him on the phone, old Master Jean should know everything. He looked at the clock on the wall. It was already past 11 p.m. He told Jean Shirua to go to bed by herself and return to his room. He didn't want to disturb Jean Shirua's sleep and called her. Jean Shirua, what do your grandfathers think about this matter? Do they already know? Chen Guang asked with some pain in his heart. He was quite unhappy. After all, he was the director of the Guangdong General Administration. And now he had to jump out from the shadows to run such a big company and stand in the eye of the storm. Now that he was being slandered so badly, you should at least say something, so that I can decide what to do next, right? Either you give me more support from the public, and give me more power, so that I can enjoy the feeling of being a pair of invisible hands behind the scenes controlling everything in the online world. Or you can arrange for someone important enough to greet the reckless Zhuo Wei, and tell him to kneel or scram, when he needs to kneel or scram when he needs to. You guys are so comfortable, leaving everything to me and not caring about your own matters. You guys shouldn't be like this, old men. Jean Shirua didn't seem to be asleep yet. I'm in Grandpa's study. I just pleaded with him. Sai, forget it. You can talk to him yourself. Hey, don't. Before Chen Guang could finish his words, old Master Jin's voice came from the other side. What do you mean don't? Do you not want to talk to me? Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Isn't this nonsense? I just want to slowly fade away from this matter with Jean Shirua. Who wants to chat with you? I'm really afraid that you will like me more and more. Old man is really glad that you know your limits. But I'm embarrassed to tell you that I've actually lived more than 100 years longer than you. It's also very difficult for me to hear you keep calling me brat. It's also because I'm young. If it were someone else, they would have scolded you for being impolite. How can I? I'm just afraid of disturbing your sleep. Therefore, it's natural to say things that don't mean what you mean. Although in his heart, Chen Guang was almost ridiculing old Master Jean as a little brat, he immediately spouted nonsense. No, I'm not disturbing you at all. I'm very happy now. You've done a good job, young man. A few of us were praising you on the conference call just now. Huh? You can praise me too? How random is your selection criteria? I've almost been slandered as an African, okay? But this is the effect we want. You're amazing. It's fine when you don't do anything, but when you do, it's a big commotion. You've just opened your company, and you've already caused such a big commotion. It's quite good. You call this good? Of course. If it's a white cat or a black cat, it's a good cat if it's eye-catching. In a few days, the military exercise will start. You've attracted everyone's attention now. The effect is very good. But what about my reputation? It's not a problem. It'll be fine after a while. Besides, we don't expect you to make money. You can do whatever you want. I'm just afraid of affecting Shirua. It's not a problem. Those who achieve great things don't bother about trifles. We know what kind of person you are. Let the people outside make a fuss. If it really doesn't work, you can wait for the people on the internet to forget about it, or wait for us to deal with it. We'll help you deal with those clowns, and then it won't be difficult to clear your name. There's no hurry now. Alright, that's all. I'm a little sleepy. You should rest early too. Chen Guang hung up the phone bitterly. He understood in his heart that this group of old men was indeed unreliable. They clearly had no intention of interfering. To be honest, I've been so calm before. Isn't it because I'm counting on you guys to back me up? Now you're quitting faster than me. This is too much, okay? Do you really expect me to pay Tang Xiaokai's money until I don't even have my underwear left? The next morning, while Chen Guang was still lazing around in bed, Zhuo Wei came up with a new piece of news. This time, it set off a storm on the internet. It was even more powerful than the countless articles last night, because this time, Zhuo Wei had found something. The most powerful scumbag in history, Chen Guang. On the surface, he's a lover with Jean Shirua, but he's secretly keeping a mistress. He's entangled with the prettiest girl in the class, and he overthrew a corrupt official for the sake of his mistress. Are you still in love with the omnipotent superhuman Chen Guang? The introduction of this piece of scandalous information was already explosive enough. The content was even more reasonable and convincing. This time, Zhuo Wei used all his connections and conducted a thorough investigation. He perfectly mixed his conjectures and facts together and wrote a long article that was written in the style of a super close friend. Many people in Gokyo University's Jianhuan College and the whole school knew about what Chen Guang had done in school. Back then, he sent Pan Jiang to the hospital because of Sun Xiaoxuan, which further caused Pan Jiang to drop out of school. Later, he overthrew Wang Run and Su Lijing because of Zhuo Jingxi. These things were originally spread around the school, but with Zhuo Wei's personal embellishment, it became that he first flirted with Sun Xiaoxuan, then won over the beautiful counselor Zhuo Jingxi, and then he had the national idol Jin Shiyue. Among them, Chen Guang pretended to be Zhuo Jingxi's boyfriend and directly used his status as her sugar daddy to slap Zhuo Long's face when they were buying a car. The story was written so vividly that it was as if he was there himself. There was even an interview video of the 4S store staff as evidence. Although in a sense, what Zhuo Wei wrote was very close to the truth. Once this kind of thing was said and exposed to the eyes of the public, the impact would be different. Actually, Chen Guang felt that he was being wronged. Although he was a little flirtatious sometimes, that was a man's nature. Everyone loved beauty, but he and Sun Xiaoxuan were innocent, and so were Jin Shiyue. But the public didn't think so. His and Jin Shiyue's so-called innocence was a secret that couldn't be said, and the blame was firmly placed on them. Looking at the comments below the news, there were a bunch of people saying, "The #1 scumbag in the world, Chen Guang, stay in formation." He was almost like a Spartan. "I'm not going to take this blame, okay? Surnamed Zhuo. Can you let me have a good night's sleep? Also, I'm really in trouble. Why are you my teacher Zhuo's uncle?" Zhuo Wei and Zhuo Jingxi's fathers are actually cousins. Thinking of Zhuo Jingxi's money-grubbing parents, Chen Guang really came to a realization. As expected, people who weren't from the same family didn't belong to the same family. Teacher Zhuo was born in such a strange family, yet he still had such a pure and untainted temperament. It was really the result of 8 lifetimes of good karma. But Chen Guang's head hurt even more. Before he finished reading this scandal, he really wanted to kill. After all, he was a person with a license to kill. But now, no matter how big a mistake Zhuo Wei had made, no matter how bad the relationship between Zhuo Jingxi and her parents and these unlucky relatives was, he definitely couldn't kill them. He rubbed his forehead. He was annoyed. But he was like this. The more you made me feel bad, the more you made me unhappy, the more you could forget about taking a penny out of my pocket. His stingy will would never be shaken by any external forces. Zhuo Wei's article had grasped the best timing and the best point of hatred. It just so happened that the incident where Chen Guang had angrily beaten up Pan Jiang because of Sun Xiaoxuan was true. The incident where he had contradicted Wang Ren in front of everyone at the school and eventually sent Wang Ren and Su Lijing to court was also true. The incident where he had caused a ruckus at the 4S store and bought a car and gave it away on the spot was also true. Other than giving the car away, Chen Guang's own house was right across from Zhuo Jingxi's rented house. A car worth hundreds of thousands was given away just like that. Now that they were living across from each other, no one would believe it if they said that Chen Guang and Zhuo Jingxi had nothing to do with each other. Perhaps when Zhuo Wei wrote this article, there were also victims like Zhou Long or Zhuo Jingxi's parents. They were relatives to begin with. As long as money was in front of them, what couldn't they say? The groundless accusations and the specious assumptions made Zhuo Wei's meticulously crafted long essay seem to be very real. The most deceptive lie in the world was a half-truth and half-falsehood. After reading this long article, even Chen Guang himself believed 80 to 90% of it. Forget about teacher Zhuo. That was a relationship that could never be washed clean, even if he jumped into the Yellow River. And he had no intention of washing it clean either. Come to think of it, could it be that I actually like Sun Xiaoxuan? Chen Guang smacked his lips. As the saying goes, one must fly into a rage for a beauty. If I didn't like her, I wouldn't have been so angry when I beat up Pan Jiang, right? Is it just that I've been avoiding it? Or perhaps I don't want to admit it? Sun Xiaoxuan's innocence and cuteness were so clear. Her sweet and delicate appearance was so lovely. How could Chen Guang not understand her feelings at all? But sometimes, understanding didn't mean that one could accept it with a clear conscience. She was such an innocent and cute girl. Who could bear to reject her? But Chen Guang knew what kind of person he was. Even if he couldn't bear to reject her, he couldn't bear to hurt Sun Xiaoxuan even more. Unknowingly, the matter with Sun Xiaoxuan had been delayed until now. Now that it was summer vacation, Sun Xiaoxuan was abroad, and Chen Guang was rambling all day long. He seemed to have almost forgotten about it. But when he wrote such a long article for Zhuowei today, it was hard to say how others would view it. On the contrary, it awakened the hidden feelings in Chen Guang's heart. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.